like that. Was he inhales and I pushed, the guy shoots a piece of pasta about this big, a moon-shaped orange-green pasta out of his mouth, and John's like, on the inhale, it goes into John's mouth and swallows him. And I go,
just to let you know, because you should know.
I'd still wear a Speedo.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I used to swim all the time.
You better wear a
lot.
Speedo.
Keep this for the conversation.
We're good? All right. We're good.
Okay, today we're going to interview a good friend of mine, a professional lifeguard. He's also a musician. He has a great voice. We're going to talk about that as well. This is Sean Green. He's going to tell us what it's like from when he started lifeguarding up until teaching academies. His observation skills have saved thousands of lives on the ocean. For example, how the heck do you watch 80,000 people in the water and figure out which one needs to be rescued? We're going to break it down with Sean Green. Stay tuned.
Good morning.
Good morning, man.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning.
All right,
Yeah.
Sean.
How
So
are you
good
guys
to
doing?
see you. Good to see you. Yeah,
What's
I
up,
did
brother?
good.
What's up, Mark?
What's happening?
How are you, buddy?
Not bad.
We're just doing these nice YouTube shows and interviewing some really nice people.
I like it. Like your studio,
yeah,
the
like
green
it.
room. It's
Yeah.
nice. Very professional. Very cool.
Yeah, we still need some, maybe some alcoholic beverages to calm people down. Maybe a shot of tequila here and there. But
What
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
tequila?
I like Don Julio 42.
The silver's good shaking over rice. I like the Herradura.
No, you know what I have? It's called Addictivo. And you know why it's called Addictivo? Because it's Addictivo. It
Are you
really,
addicted?
no, it's good. And it's the kind of tequila that when you go to the store, it's behind a cage. So you just can't
All of
grab
them
a
are
bottle.
behind cages now.
No,
They're
no.
ripping shit off.
Some of them, they put this cap on it so you can't
Oh,
steal
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's
That's-
behind.
yeah,
No, this
yeah.
is in a cage.
Yeah, I
Some
know.
wild stuff.
Right.
I should bring it.
You should.
I drank it all.
The one that I get mine at Costco. They have these really nice bottles.
They have some good deals at Costco too.
Costco has some
Their
stuff.
Casa
going for-
Doris, they get the 1 liter instead of the 7.5, so it's bigger than most usually sell in the store, and they get that goes on sale. It's like $29 to $32 a bottle, right? Costco sells it if you buy 2 minimum, $16.99 each. Anyway, so I'll get a
You know
case
who
of
has
that
good
for
tequila
summer.
also? George Clooney.
George
Yeah.
Clooney, yeah.
That
He
George
does.
Clooney.
He does.
And I think he became a billionaire off of that.
Somebody
Casamigos.
What is that?
Casamigos. It's good. It's about $55 for a bottle.
Okay.
It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it's not
Smooth.
bad. Yeah.
Someone else just came up with their own tequila. One of these.
That's the big.
star.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, it
the
seems like the
famous people are becoming.
Either vodka or tequila.
Now, there's a really good
something.
surfer out of Solana Beach that has his own in a really nice bottle. It's like $80 or so, and he has that going on.
There's one that tastes like an old fashioned. It's a smoky type of. I think they keep the tequila in a burnt out oak barrel for years.
Yeah, oak barrels. Any of the añejos have to be there for 2+ years, 3-year añejos, and so those are kept in oak, where the silvers are in a glass or silver container, and then the reposados are oak, but for 6 months or more, so a little less smoky. So it depends on what you want for that
A
taste.
tequila connoisseur. You know
We
what's
need
funny
to-
about Sean?
Yeah.
He knows
Sean knows
about
everything.
everything.
Yeah, Sean knows everything.
He's like Shaunapedia.
So let me ask you, Sean.
He does.
Anyway, I had no idea what you guys are going to talk about today.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
you
going
do.
to say what
You
we're
know,
talking about.
to
We're going to talk about you and I used to work together.
Yeah, we
as
did.
lifeguards. I think
Yeah.
we had some good times, right?
That's why I'd be here in a second if you asked me.
Yeah, exactly. We have this little group of friends at 7/24, 24/7. It's a group of guys I can call. They'll be at my house. They'll be anywhere
Let
in
me
the
ask you a
world.
question about lifeguards that I know, but I'm going to ask you. How much of your job entailed law enforcement? Because I don't think people understood the kind of stuff that
It
you guys...
changed over the years. It started off with you're working for the Park and Rec Department, 50s and 60s, and not too much unless the shit went down. And then as we started funneling our political money that we were making off tickets, whatever else, towards the city general fund, it started getting more involved. So we started doing parking tickets, and we started doing regular citations, dogs on the beach, and things like that. And then it progressed to, well, people were stealing things on the beach or assaulting. Let's get the cops there. Well, if we don't have a beach team that's out there, we're the beach team. So we started getting the funding to get some beach team guys. But if they're already 2 miles up the coast, on some patrol, and we have to do something, and somebody comes in a fight, are we jumping in? And we're lifeguards. We're in top-notch shape. We got 6 and 8 packs, and I have no problem jumping in the middle of 3 guys and throwing them down. Just as the way it went down.
It's even better when you get them in the water.
But the state lifeguards carry guns.
They do.
Yeah, there's some state
Yeah.
lifeguards.
Not
they're-
all
Well,
of them,
here,
but some.
here in San Diego, they do.
The permanent ones.
Right, I've seen
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Not
They-
the
So
summertime
they're
ones.
so are lifeguards peace officers?
yes.
Yes and no. They have a limited status on the ocean front, and they did have a full peace officer status, 833.33B, like boy, as a peace officer on the bay because we drive harbor patrol boats. And we needed to make stops on vessels that might have weapons. And then the hotel owners on Mission Bay wanted us to be able to intervene if somebody robbed a hotel and took a boat across the way.
Right.
And so subsequently, we got boats that could do that. We had training that could do that. We carried PR-24s, which was like a baton side handle.
Right.
You know, we didn't get a gun permission because they had to put where do you put your gun? All that. And the lifeguard chief didn't want us to go there. And it went back and forth for a few years. After that, the law enforcement subsided to just pretty much what we thought was necessary to have for the training. And then we put more police officers around for the backup.
What about that?
It got weird after 9/11 because then they gave the lifeguards actual Geiger counters, right? Where they would stop. I remember David Raines was in charge of that, and in case somebody wanted to smuggle in some type of a weapon coming into Mission Bay,
There's a lot that goes on
What,
there.
they're
You got
looking for
DEA,
what-
you got customs.
They were
yeah.
looking for uranium or bombs.
any type of device with nuclear capabilities, like a dumb bomb.
So what, you're supposed to stop terrorists?
Well,
As a
that's what
lifeguard?
I'm saying. No gun, no anything, and pull over that random boat and check his equipment. I would just say don't do that.
Remember that story about the mail truck? Was that you?
I do. That was me.
Oh, that
the
was
story got out of hand a little bit.
Right.
You want to know that story?
Can you still tell it?
Sure.
Can you tell it?
Yeah, these people say I commandeered a mail truck to do something, and that's just how the story got pushed. But I was out on Mission Bay as a harbor patrol officer for the lifeguard service, and I get a call that there's a cover now on a lifeguard on the ocean front that had chased a person who was a stolen bike.
Explain what cover now means.
Cover now means somebody that is in law enforcement needs emergency backup right away. Now, we have another code that means I'm going down, but it wasn't that one. It's the one just previous. Cover now, cover code 3, respond code 3. That means I need backup.
Right.
There's a 1098 as well. But anyway, the point being, I get the call and I'm like, okay, where's he at? Well, he's down at like Jamaica Court, which is on Mission Beach, if you know, from the roller coaster, probably about 4 or 5 courts to your north. I'm out by Santa Clara, so I'm on the bay side. That's another 7 courts down. So I jump off my boat and beach it, and I'm going to be running 7 courts with my police baton, radio, and a heavy buckle, and I'm taking off. This guy needs backup in the middle. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's getting
Right.
beat up, stabbed, or whatever.
Right.
So I start running, and I get to the street, and a mail truck, this lady comes by, and she's got one of the old trucks with like this pole on it you can step on. And I'm huffing and puffing a little bit. I mean, I'm sprinting for a cover now, and I got a lot of weight on me. Not me personally, but the belt. And I turn and I go, can I hop on for a ride down there? She's like, yeah, hop on. I go, I just go straight away, drop me off stop sign. I get at the stop sign, start running up, and I hear, he's clear, I'm clear, it's okay, suspect apprehended. So I'm like, Jesus, okay. Started walking back to my boat. I get back to the lifeguard headquarters, and I'm telling a story, and Dave Cockrum, rest in peace, great lifeguard, he'd like to get our stories and embellish a little bit. So I go, yeah, I had to hop on this mail truck and do this. Next thing you know, the next morning I get called into the lieutenant. He's like, I heard you told a male officer, a lady, mail carrier, stop, halt, I'm taking over your vehicle, give me a ride down immediately. And I'm like, no, that's not how it went down. I was like, hey, can I get a ride? Like hitchhiking pretty much.
Right.
And so the story's gone away since then.
Well, the story is you commandeered a mail truck.
Yeah.
The story is I was trying to help a fellow officer that was in need.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
All right.
Right? That's
Yeah,
how it
there
is.
you go.
There's
Frankie and I got some crazy ones. We were going down Mission Beach one time, Ocean Beach, and we're taking off, and all of a sudden these people just start running at us. And they're like, he's got a gun. And we're driving towards, and I'm just like, who's got a gun? And they can't stop and tell us. They're running, and I'm like, what, are we going to get shot through the windshield? Whatever. And I look at Frank, and Frank's like, let's get him. And I'm like, all right, let's go. We just start driving towards that direction, which nowadays you wouldn't do, but we're 24 and full of muscle and want to save the world, right?
Exactly.
Save the lifeguards.
It's
save
just
the
one
world.
gun.
Did he have a gun?
Yeah, he had a gun. So we get there. He had retreated to the parking lot, and we got his location where he was. We called in for police backup at that time, and then they came and handcuffed him, searched the vehicle, and found the weapon, a big revolver.
Were you there?
Jeez.
Were you there when?
Remember that, Frankie?
Oh, I remember. I remember the one funny one. We had this really big, I think it was Samoan, but a huge
The
guy.
Kelly Clark one?
The Kelly
Oh,
Clark one.
geez, yeah.
Who's
Mr.
Kelly
Beach?
Clark, the singer?
No, we had a lifeguard. We called him Killer.
Oh, Killer Clark, yeah.
was
I never
About
knew his,
$5'4", by about $1.25.
I never knew his first name. I just Killer Clark.
Yes, Kelly
Killer.
Clark.
Kelly.
So he was a little guy. He was like 120 pounds, 150
Yeah,
pounds maybe.
brother was a customs agent.
So what happened was we got this warning that we had to give for a person going into a rip current. And so you get in the vehicle and you go, attention, one guy out here, waist deep water, can you please turn around and move to the north? And apparently this guy was in the middle of praying. Okay, so
What do you mean praying?
he was just praying to God. He
In a
was
rip current?
in a rip current in the water. We don't know why. So he came up to our truck and we go, scoot over, and he goes, you interrupted my praying. And this guy was like, I'm not kidding. Huge. Maybe 350, pretty much solid. You know how Samoans are built. They're
big dude.
Big guy.
Kick your ass, huh?
6'4", just monstrous. And I was trying to talk calm like, I didn't mean to interrupt your praying, but all you got to do is scoot over. And he goes, you interrupted my praying. And then he calms down, and then he walks to the sand and starts smoking a joint. So I'm like, oh, shit, now he's smoking weed. This is before weed was legal.
Correct.
And he's puffing on us a big old, big joint.
Trying to calm down.
So we went up to him and go, hey, you can't really smoke weed. So now he's pissed. So the next day he goes to the main lifeguard tower.
Shows up at Mission Beach main tower,
Yeah, the main
knocks
tower.
on the door. Kelly Clark opens up. Go ahead.
And he just grabs him by the neck and picks him up.
Choking, strangling him?
Yeah.
Strangling him. So I wasn't there yet. And he brings him into the tower. Well, this guy can't even yell for help because he's being strangled to death, and he's a little guy. So he's like, it's like one of those movies. He's picking him off the ground.
Yeah.
Guy's squirming around. So the lieutenant sees what's going on, and he comes down with a baton, and he just throws it at the guy because he's not going to come.
huge.
He's huge. And then the guy starts chasing the lieutenant, who is another big guy, in the parking garage, jumping over lifeguard trucks. He wants to murder people. And it was right after Rodney King, that episode with Rodney King, and so the police swarmed, and we go, hey, we got a guy like beating the shit out of lifeguards in the tower, and no one can stop him. He's unstoppable. And so when the police got there, he was walking down the boardwalk, and they jumped on him. But it started to look a little bit of Rodney Kingish, So it's like, hey, chill out, man, this guy. But he's not fighting back, but they just can't move him, and he's struggling. And then I got there, and I remembered him from the day before. And I'm like, hey, it's Frank. Can you just put your hands behind your back? Because we got to put cuffs on you. He goes, I'll do it for you, but I want an apology for interrupting my praying the day before. I didn't know he had just got done strangling people and beating up the
Right.
lieutenant.
And you can't get the cuffs on the back. He's too big. So you got to go cuff, then you got to go.
Right.
He took 2 cuffs.
No, he took 3
Yeah,
cuffs.
he took
3?
2,
the plastic cuff
3.
in the middle, and you hook that to
Oh
the
my
other
God.
one.
Yeah, it was
Big
a
kid.
disaster. And then he went, so what happened was...
He had to get a temporary restraining order. Kelly did.
Yeah. So, and we kind of messed with Kelly. So when we were in court, we're all in court because this guy, apparently he even broke one of those steel toilets in the jail. He was really pissed that day. He had like freaky strength, man. We're like all scared of him. And so we get in the court and we see the guy, and then the guy looks at us, but he's kind of looking at me, but just to mess with Kelly, I go, dude, he's giving you the death stare. Look at him. He's going to get you one day. I shouldn't have said that. The guy
Well, you give him PTSD?
I gave him PTSD, and he was scared, and he didn't want to answer the front door anymore.
He wouldn't eat poi anymore?
Yeah, but that guy was cool. He ended up being like, we saw him again, and he would just go and smoke his weed, but no one bothered him.
See, this is the law enforcement side because you mentioned that.
Right.
But the majority of the time, we're making rescues. We're hopping in and we're saving a lot of people. We're diving under and finding them under the water, pulling them up and saying, breathe. Oh my gosh, this 4-year-old, she's coughing great. She's going to stay alive. Get her back over here. And does she need medics or not? Does she have to be airlifted to the hospital? Can she just have her stethoscope check her out her lungs and we can release her?
Right.
Or you get to somebody and they're super tired and you're pushing them the buoy and giving them a tow back to the surf. Then we're doing first days on the beach. Then we're doing marine firefighting on the fireboats. We're doing all the cliff rescue in San Diego.
Scuba search.
Okay,
and rescue.
let's just go
There's a
back
whole
just
bunch.
one thing.
But hold on, one more law enforcement story, just so
Okay,
you can
go
picture
ahead.
what lifeguards are doing.
Okay.
We're sitting at Mission Beach. I'm with Charlie Wright, great lieutenant. And I'm sitting with him over at Mission Beach, and all of a sudden this lady comes in and she goes, hey, there's a couple guys that have like big leather jackets on. It's like late spring, it's getting hot. Leather jackets on. Yeah, she goes, and when the guy went like this, I saw a big gun in his side. I'm like, oh, Jesus, okay, we'll call for police backup. Right. Police come backing up, and they start walking a little closer to the tower. And then like another citizen comes over and says something. And when Charlie goes, oh, no, let's go talk to him. I'm like, I don't think so. And he's like, no, let's go talk to him. I'm like, okay, let's go. So, once they're walking up, he's like, hey, I got to talk to you guys. The guy kind of goes like this, and Charlie just runs and grabs him up on the boardwalk wall and shoves him down. And I'm looking at the other guy and I go, I better do it too. Like, nail that guy down, right? You and I taught the self-defense courses, so I got a pretty good lock on the guy and a pressure point where he's going to, cry like a little baby if I need him to. And I look up and you guys remember that yuck soup punch?
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
it.
yeah,
I love
that's a
that
good
punch,
one.
by the way. Anyway, another conversation. But holding that guy down and I look up and Charlie is taking the gun away from him, this Glock, and he's standing back, pointing it at him, and I'm right next to the guy.
Yeah.
And
So
Charlie's got
Charlie Wright has the gun. The
has
lifeguard
the
has
guy's
the gun.
The lifeguard's now lieutenant's got the gun, and I'm looking, going, "Don't shoot me on accident." I know about all the
Right.
statistics, and so is your finger outside the trigger?
Right.
It's inside.
Right.
And I'm going, "This is not pretty.
Not good.
And I'm saying, "This isn't good, man." And the main tower guard's already called for a cover now, right?
Right.
So we got law enforcement sirens flying everywhere. And I'm holding this guy down, just going, "Don't move, don't," and looking up, and then. Out of the blue, the police helicopter comes flying around. Sand's kicking everywhere. The door's open. The guy's like this. And we're just like, oh, my God. And these big
one-
trucks, 4x4s
Shitty.
were flying in everywhere. And Lake came over and took
So
care of it.
the cop in the helicopter is pointing a gun at him?
There was somebody in the helicopter.
Right.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking up quickly. That's what I remember.
Wow.
But what I remember is sand going everywhere. Yeah, and these other guys showing up in like 7 cop cars, on the boardwalk, just jumping out.
Remember the story with the helicopter?
Oh, that
Oh,
story.
yeah, you don't want to go that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
kind of
bad one.
funny.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of funny.
Lifeguards take a helicopter down.
Oh,
Since the guy's still alive, we probably should
yeah,
tell the
let's not
story.
talk about that.
He'd be
That
embarrassed.
helicopter crashed. Bad one.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I went to the hospital and visited the people that got hurt. No one
Yeah,
died, though.
I did too.
Got a couple back injuries.
So what is something called a parking lot drowning? I've heard this term before.
Well, whenever you
Aspiration.
whenever you swallow or inhale salt water into the lungs, the biology of your body wants to get the salt equal. So you could be choking and coughing, but you seem okay, and then you go sit in your car, and 2 hours later you drown because your body floods your system to get the
Right.
salt even.
Because you have salt water
So it's
in
not
your
just water
in
in
your
your lungs,
lungs.
but it's salt water.
Right, salt water.
salt water. Does
So-
that happen?
Yeah. It's called a parking lot drowning. Yeah. And
I don't
that's
think
why-
it happens that often, but we have to be aware of it on aspiration cases. Cases
Right.
where you're listening to people's lungs and we put stethoscopes in the back and we make them say 99 or take a big deep breath. And you want to hear nice and clear. You don't want to
Right.
hear gargle, gargle, gargle,
Yeah,
crack,
right,
crack, gargle.
right.
That kind of stuff. And you're like, so you listen to the quadrants, right? The 4
Right.
quadrants, and you're listening to them. You're going, okay, do I hear any gargling? Let me see, can I release them? Are they all clear or not?
Right.
If you hear that gargling, are you going to release them? It's just a little bit. What are you thinking?
It's so funny. People think lifeguards are Baywatch. If anybody remembers that show Baywatch with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just pulling.
Well, what Sean is really good at, which he taught me, is observation skills. And the first thing he tells people is, if you're here looking at women, or if you're here looking at men, if you're here looking at what you're not supposed to look at and somebody drowns, I mean, you might as well just say, you caused it.
Yeah, you caused
So
it.
the first thing you do is you get the fear in you that when you're in that main tower, because it's not like other towers, when you're in the actual main tower with the big binos and you're in charge of 80,000 people in waist deep water, it's nerve-wracking. So
Well, how
it's
do you
not
know
like
which one?
Birdwatch.
How do you know which person? Because San Diego has
Thousands.
thousands and thousands. You're at the beach,
the water.
thousands of people.
Right.
How do you know which one is the one?
that you need to rescue.
And you can't just be super preventative and send lifeguards out on everything and check, are
Right.
you okay? Because if you're out doing that, someone on the inside in shallower water can drown. You don't have somebody watching them as much now.
Right.
So we have different systems. So we have Dunleavy towers, which are seasonal towers that are placed along the beach in most beaches of our large beaches. They're placed strategically with parking lots because people want to pull up, grab their stuff, and go out and have a good time. They don't want to carry heavy coolers for blocks. So wherever you have
Right.
parking lots, you have more people hitting the water. That's conducive with swimming areas. Unfortunately, sometimes rip currents show up from the storms previous winter before, and those areas can have rip currents in them too, so we'll put up red flags. Said, please don't swim here, that kind of thing. So when people get out in the water, you have these seasonal towers, the smaller towers, bird cages, if you will, looking out there and saying, they might have 1 or 2 guards with binoculars. Are you okay? So you're looking for that stuff. Then you have the main tower that's up top, 3 stories up, that's overlooking everybody. And if you go out for a rescue, can knows what's happening. If you send a truck to back you up, a personal watercraft jet ski to back you up, and if you need a surf boat to come in, if you need more lifeguards from the other adjacent towers to come and make the rescue.
Right.
Okay, and then we got signals that when you're out there, you can let us know that you're okay with them alone. Do you need more guards or not? Do you need oxygen? Is this person, or is the person now drowning and we need to call it a codex? Do we need to start getting a scuba team going and find the person on the bottom? So we have a number of hand
That's
signals that
gnarly.
we look for. We need you to do that when you're a lifeguard to get to the victim. So I know if I can go, you're okay, or more people, or you're not okay, or give me a helicopter, whatever. So we train these people. And I start off telling them that, like, there's major rip currents are next to rock jetties and piers, and then some just show up, traveling rip currents, that kind of thing. So I train you to look for the problem area, and then I train you to look for the individual that's a problem. Are they not a very good swimmer? Are they not making progress? Are their elbows not high? Do they have swim fins on? How's their kick? Are they in a rip current or not? Do they look
Right.
panicked?
Right.
Are they on a boogie board, a flotation device? Are they pushed that away from them and are trying to swim in? Things like that. But even prior to that, you could spot some of those people on the beach.
Yeah, scuba divers at the Casa.
People not wearing the scuba equipment the right way. A person coming with long pants on them wants to go for a swim in his T-shirt. What's that about? Why is this happening? Ask yourself the question, do I need to make contact first and make that warning? So when I first get you, I say, well, close your eyes. And when I say go, open your eyes and look at this big slide of a beach and tell me the first thing that comes out of your eyes. Boom, I saw a bird. I see a surfer. I want to know. Because when you're looking back and forth, all of a sudden something happens, it catches your eye. And I want you to zone in on that for a second. And then you say, do you see what's going on? Is it an individual? Are they in a problem area? Or just did a bird dive for a water? It's no big deal. And if you can't ascertain that, then we'll put our binoculars up. But not for very long because it's a tunnel vision you're getting. You can hold the binoculars, move your head, and still look everywhere else and go back again. Now, is that showing you that this person's not making progress? And do you need to be on standby and alert the main tower what you might be going in on, or do you need to go in? So we train you in that system. First, you have to learn how to spot what's a rip current. What's it look like? Not all lifeguards people know that. They're trying not to be lifeguard. How do I get in there and make the rescue? Do I run down from the tower after I tell them, and do I drop my buoy on the sand? Do I drop it in the water? Do I switch my fins? Do I run real high stepping like a football player, and then I do a porpoise jump, and then I turn my back and put on my swim fins, and then I swim to them? I get to them 6 feet away. I push you the buoy. I say, are you okay? You're okay. I give a signal to the main tower or the truck that I'm okay. Then I talk to you about how I'm going to bring you back in, and not always can you come back in out of the rip current. Sometimes you only have a few guards and a lot of rescues, so you got to bring the victim in back through the current to pick up more victims. And then you get back in, you make sure you don't leave them at waist deep water where they might fall into a hole again. But you bring them into ankle deep so you know they're safe. And then you got to turn around and say, am I going back out? Or can I go back to the tower? And halfway back, you turn around again and say, yeah, I look good. I look okay in the water. Go back to the main tower, stop, breathe. Main tower, tower 4 is back. They say, copy, you're back. And then you're ready for it to do it all over again. But when you're training people to see this, you have to draw analogies and stories and good photos to get them so they're locked in. A terrible story about this for myself personally is I'm in the movie theater, and I've been trained to be this lifeguard, and my eyes are like, boom, boom. I'm sitting here in this movie theater down at Mission Valley, and my second year, third year guardian, I've made a lot of rescues that first and second summer. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching actually a friend from Mission Bay High that became an actress. And all of a sudden, they push her in the pool, and she starts going like this. And I'm like...
Where, at the movie?
In the movie theater, in the movie.
Oh,
and
okay.
I launch out of my seat, middle of the movie, and just brainwashed to go. And I'm like, okay, stop, sit back down, have your popcorn. It's just a movie. Oh, my God. And I'm like, but that day, I knew I could never go to the beach again and just enjoy the water.
You can never do
No,
that.
even
no
I
way.
see Frank when we're at the beach. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna go do a rescue.
Yeah.
He's not even working. He's retired.
Yeah.
Jumping in doing. Hey, let me ask you this question because you brought up so many points. What's the difference between doing a rescue in the daytime and doing it at night? And have you done some gnarly night
Frank's
rescues?
had some great ones. Even in the fog, he's had a real good one. And that's a good question. Hold on back one more second. In teaching them, so I draw analogies. Think about the Secret Service. You go into the Secret Service as an observer, a trained observer, and you've been trained to look to protect this person. Could be the President of the United States, right? And you're walking around, it's like, where's the gun? Who's the individual? Where do I see something shine? It's similar to that, where you're looking out there, and it could be 5 people in the water, it could be 400, it could be 800, and you're looking out going, where's the one that's drowning? Are they in a problem area? Who is it? The first thing you look for is the face that's looking back at you.
Right.
You don't want to go out there if you're drowning. You want to come home. You want to come back to the beach. So we look out there, and there's probably 500 people. About 496 are looking out. One's going, "Hi, Mom," and the other one's going like jumping away, turn her back to the wave. And you're like, they're fine, they're waist deep. All of a sudden you see the face and you go, that one's looking in, low stroke. I don't like the area.
Big open mouth.
Tower 4 is on standby. Tower 4 is in on them. Tower 4 is in. You need backup. Unit 10 is going to back up Tower 4. I'm going, do you want lights and sirens? Affirmative, give me lights and sirens, please. Jet ski, do you need you? Yeah, come on, we have 2 people going down off Tower 4 next to the green boogie board. And that's how we do it.
Yeah,
Day in, day out.
fast.
Could be 5 rescues that day.
And Sean is
It has
the-
to be fast.
Yeah, it has
like
to
that.
be. You cannot hesitate.
Some struggle for 8 seconds. Some struggle for 2 minutes.
Right.
Some hear the siren and give up. There's all sorts of weird statistics on this kind of stuff. But, is it a 4-year-old? Is it a 55-year-old having a heart attack? I don't know.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. As far as the night's a little different because you don't have backup. Because the city of San Diego does have a 24/7 response. They're part of the fire department now.
It's improved.
It has improved, but when I was there, it was me that'd be in charge of an area. If you know San Diego out there, it would be from Point Loma to Bird Rock.
How many
Okay,
miles?
So miles. I mean, it's all of Ocean
All of
Beach.
Sunset Cliffs, Ocean Beach, Mission Beach, and
Yeah,
Pacific
but for the
Beach.
people that are listening who don't know where that is, how
Right.
many miles would that be?
I don't know. It's like
10?
5.
That's somewhere in there, 6 to 8 probably.
Yeah.
And then you have the other guard in charge of PB to Blacks Beach, La Jolla, all
Right.
La Jolla shores,
And that's
all the
about
rocks.
eight or 10 miles. I don't
You
know.
split it. So if
Yeah.
you're going for backup
It's
out
all
there,
cliffs, so it's
your-
hard to determine.
Your nearest backup coming to help you, if you all of a sudden get a call, a boat just overturned off of Ocean Beach or Sunset Cliffs,
Right.
coming from a long ways away.
Right.
And you're going to be the first one in the water for a long time, and you're hoping the police helicopter puts a light on you. They get there quick. They send a
Okay,
boat.
so this is at night.
At
Yeah,
night
so the night rescues, you have to know if it's foggy, you're not going to get a helicopter because helicopters don't fly in the fog. So you don't have no lights. The visibility is bad, and you can't see the surf coming in. So when you do find a victim, like I've jumped off the Ocean Beach pier on a few of them, where it's either someone's drunk or one time a person got thrown off the pier, and then you get the call 911. There's someone who got thrown off a pier. So when I get out there, everyone's like, "Do something!" And then you take a rescue board. What I do is I take my rescue board, time the surf if I can see it, have my fins with me as backup, throw the board over, and just take the plunge into the abyss. Because you can't even see the bottom where the ocean is because it's so foggy. You know it's about 20 or 30 feet, but it's still nerve-wracking because you're gonna hit the water pretty hard. And then you have to get out on your equipment. Then you got to find the guy. Then you find the guy. But the difference between us and PD and fire department is no one's jumping behind me. Cops could be lined up with their flashlights trying to help. Fire department is not going to get in the water. Cops aren't going to get in the water. If there's no helo, it's just you waiting for your backup lifeguard who may or may not know where you are. So you're on your own, like 100% on your own. Then you get the victim. You have to evaluate him. This guy was all cut up from the barnacles because he was holding onto the pylon, and so he's on my rescue board. And then you got to make sure he doesn't slip off your board because here comes a set of waves that are 6 to 8 feet. These are not small ones. Sometimes you get unlucky and you get big surf, cold water, fog, no backup, and you're going in.
He's making some great points. Like the first one, he says he throw the surfboard off there. So if he can grab on and stay with something big floating, we can find him, spot him easier with a big giant 11-foot lifeguard board. Second, he can put the person on the flotation device, at least hold on to the handles, right?
Right.
If he loses that, now he's just this regular old swimmer, but he was smart and brought his fins and a buoy with him.
Right.
So if that board gets hit away by a big wave, he's still now a regular lifeguard with fins and a buoy and can make that rescue. So he's being prepared. So far as police officers and firefighters helping out, I believe they will jump in the water if you're screaming, "Help, I need you." They'll take off their fire coat or whatever they have on them, go down and jump in. A lot of these guys, some were lifeguards, and they have that
ex-lifeguards.
ability to want to
Right.
help.
Or
And
river
police
rescue
officers
guys.
too, but they just say, "Where do you put your gun?" They got to draw out these triage of, can I help? Should I help? How good a swimmer am I? I don't have a wetsuit on. How cold is the water? But I believe they have the ability, being public servants, to help me. But I know once they jump in, I might have another rescue unless they know what they're doing in the water as well.
Right.
So do I want them coming in? Number one. Number two, could they be better from up there, keeping track of me? Do you see any other victims? I heard there was 2. I only have 1. Can you get your flashlight on this? I have backup coming. Can you make sure they know the location right here? Things like that. So I'll put them to work if I can yell up from the pier, let's say.
Witness statements, if you have to organize where you're going to get a paramedic, how are they going to get in, if you have a helicopter, where the landing zone's going to be, make sure no one gets hurt. It's a lot of steps.
It's
Body search.
so I
body
got to tell you,
search.
when people think about lifeguards and the beach,
They go, what do you do
I don't
what do you do
think
in the winter?
yeah, I don't think they even
Public
understand.
perception. Well, even back in the day, that was the guy that got the girl that was all muscled out, that just every now and then he gives me a Band-Aid, right? And that pretty much started changing and changing. Then you look back and you're like, okay, hold on. Ocean Beach was the number 2 beach in the world for making rescues, I believe, in 90, whatever it was, 87. And with 1,349 rescues with only 18 guards working in 2.5 months.
How many?
It was 1,329, I believe. That's a lot of rescues.
1,329 rescues.
And that's
Well,
not
you were in the day where they did 151 in one day, right?
That's right. But this isn't assist. We're not talking about, here, touch my buoy, I'm going to help you
these
get
are
back on. These are like I got
legit.
you, rescue, you're going down kind of stuff.
Right.
That's the way Ocean Beach worked. And back then, the whole academy would have 50, 60 lifeguards come through. Ocean Beach usually only took one. It was the honor guard. And that place used to go off because it has a number of, has a pier and number of jetties with natural currents next to them and all that kind of stuff.
good surf.
And big parking lots.
And big parking lots.
And then later on, Mission Beach would get plenty of rescues in the La Jolla Reefs. And it's changed over years of preventative lifeguarding. How many more warnings should we make and that kind of thing. But any given day, you could be swimming in and out 80 times. And you're beat and you're tired. You got to get back the next morning.
Right.
And it's summertime and you're 19. You're like, hey, let's go to a party.
I know what I found.
We still partied at night.
Was
showed
kind
up to
of
work.
strange that, and this is what I always talk to Frank about, because he would come home and I'd go, well, how was it? And he goes, this guy died. I go, really? He goes, oh yeah. I go, well, what happens after he dies? I go, we put him on a lifeguard tower. We had him lay there until the coroner showed up, and then I go, then what'd you do? He goes, I went back to work.
Put him on the first aid bed.
No counseling.
If we had a body bag, we'd zip
Oh
it.
my
But if
God,
we didn't have a body bag, you just put a towel over him or a blanket, and that was it.
That reminds me, the city.
So you'd have a dead guy on your first aid bed.
And then you
girl.
wonder if the new guards would want to see that or not. You're like, hey, there's a dead person. Have you ever seen one that drowned? Would you like to see that? It's up to your choice. And most would go, yes. You just be respectful, of course, to the dead person. But you also want for training that the person, how does this challenge your psyche? Are you going to be okay? And if they said okay, it's already a good step. This is what, okay, I got you. Are you good? That kind of thing. But it was just part of the process. And unfortunately, that person wasn't coming back. But I wanted to see how the rest of the personnel was going to do.
I had a dead male in my tower that was there for so long I forgot he was there. I mean, literally me.
Well, if the medical examiner back in the corner was busy,
Right, they're busy.
then they only had a few
So
of them.
we had we're looking at the tower. This is La Jolla, a lot of tourists and everything. It was Pat Richardson and I, and the guy drowns.
His birthday yesterday, by the way.
I know, August 31st. Happy birthday, Pat
That's right.
Richardson. Shout out
What's
to
up, Patty?
Pat. We love Pat. And we got the body, and he's on a gurney, and we just, there's one cop. And we're like, hey, where's the medical examiner? Like, hey, he's busy. So this guy's laying by us. And then so we're guarding here, dead guy's here. And we're stepping over him to get our food, have to get to the refrigerator and step back over. And people would come in to ask questions. Hey, where's a safe place to swim?
What tower is that?
This is Casa.
Oh yeah, tiny tower.
Tiny tower.
It's tiny. This room's bigger.
And then we had and we wanted public access, but every time someone came in, they would go like, "What's going on with that guy?" I'm like, "Oh, he's okay." And
That's 80s though.
That's the 80s.
Yeah,
So that guy stayed in for a long time, but yeah, we had stuff like that happen all the time. Another thing that lifeguards do that people are not aware of is all the cliff rescues.
Yeah.
So what they think about is water. They think about on
During
the
the
beach.
sunlight hours. The fire department takes them over at nighttime.
Right.
And we can both assist each other when we need to and help out.
So what's
And
this-
We work
what's
really
this-
good together.
Yeah, those two teams. I loved working with the fire department. Those guys were all cool. They're just like we're all the same. We just want to get that adrenaline going and take care of people. But give the audience an idea what it takes when somebody needs a cliff call. Are they usually from a glider crashing, or is it from
Well, first
a false trail?
explain about the cliffs here in San Diego, because I don't
Right.
think
Well,
people understand.
we have a beach, Torrey Pines. It's in La Jolla, and we have 300-foot cliffs. They're like 250 feet to 300 feet in some areas, and there's a lot of ways to get down. There's a parking lot on top, but there's things called false trails. So you think you're going down the right path as you're trying to navigate down these huge cliffs, and you kind of slide a little bit down, and then you realize you're on a ledge.
You can't get back
and you
up.
slid down, so you can't go back up, and it's kind of slippery, and you're stuck.
And you realize you're 50, 75 feet still above it. It's a
Right,
vertical.
and-
Sunset Cliffs has those cliff rescues.
Yeah.
And Black's Beach, Torrey Pines, City Beach, State Beach, they have those kind of rescues. And so we'll get a call either someone's going to be stuck and we have to walk them out, help them get out and walk out, or we have to take them out, and put them in the proper gear.
Or they fell.
Or if they fell, they're injured, or if they ran into the side of it. We had on that TV show 911 We also have dispatchers. So our lifeguard tower is lifeguards that are our own 911 dispatchers and do our own dispatching. We have teletype systems that work with law enforcement, so we have to pass that kind of test as well and have access to that kind of computer. And so they'll tell us we have a cliff call at this location. A hang glider ran into the side of the cliff. And that was on Rescue 911 back in 1993. And we had a number of those, but I remember that one because I was a dispatcher and they wanted to put me on the film back then, the TV show. And he just ran to the side of the wall and just took off his whole face. There's no face. And you're getting down there and you're like, okay, you're stuck on the side of a cliff. You got a hang glider. This thing's attached to you. I got to cut that thing free, get you out of this. So you have training up there to know what those look like, how to get them off and that kind of thing. And then you got to, when you get there, you're like, do I need extra help to get down? Am I going to lower him down? Am I going to put him in,
a gurney?
A gurney. How am I going to get him back up? Or do I need the STAR team, which is these guys that just are crazy, guys and girls that are crazy good, that come right out of the helicopter and just drop straight down, go get all the super precarious pickoffs, we call them, and we'll just launch them in and bring them straight up or pick them up, hold on to this dead body or whoever it is, and take them up in the helicopter, hanging by a 75-foot rope, and just get dropped off at the nearest location. And it's just come in there like,
Yeah,
like
you don't want to be scared of heights when you do that one. Yeah, there's a lot of things. You got to take a gurney down. You got to know how to do the medical aid. They're all emergency medical technicians. You get to the victim. You do what's called a quick wrap. So you don't want this guy to fall. So you do this wrap around his body and clip him into you really quick in case he goes down. Now you're attached to this rope, and then you have a belay system.
First, you get behind him. You land behind him and hold them against.
Right, exactly.
Then you do the wraps.
Yeah, it's like a Spider-Man. And then you got to put him in a gurney if he's not.
And these are lifeguards.
All lifeguards.
Nothing to do with the water.
Nothing to do with the water. We also have a really good river rescue team that's highly ranked.
Okay.
Crazy good.
Crazy
Went to
good.
Katrina all over. And
How was Katrina? Would you go to Katrina?
I did not.
No, I just missed that one. So what happened was after
We got that. We remember that crazy one down in
Chula Vista.
Yeah, and IB all the way down was just flooded crazy.
Yeah, we had this one. Well, getting back to that really quick, the reason why we have a good team is because after 9/11, President Bush built Homeland Security. That's when it started. And they realized with terrorism and what had happened, they didn't have good strike forces. They didn't have a plan what happened in a huge disaster if we got another terrorist. So the FEMA made this a group or give us the funding to make teams. So anytime a governor now calls for a statewide emergency for flooding, San Diego's notified, and they get a team of the river rescue team. They have a couple, maybe law enforcement.
Different task force. They have numbers. Task Force 9, Task Force 8, and they'll respond to that.
Yeah, they'll deploy.
Right.
And so when Katrina hit New Orleans, our team went, not knowing what to expect. But when they got there, they were like one of the first crew there. There was no cell phones, right, because it's flooded. Police couldn't communicate. Their walkie-talkies didn't work. There was all sorts of stuff floating in the river, and there was no lights, and there was gang violence, and there was people shooting, and there was people looting, and there was a big cluster. It was an unbelievable scene, and dead people floating, and people
So they put
trapped.
you on a boat. They put you on like an inflatable rescue boat, right?
Right.
Like they'll go out there and find these people in the floods and take them from their houses and take them away. And there's thousands of people and only a few boats. And what's really hard is the lifeguard starts off wanting to save everybody because you have that in your brain and your heart. You've been trained that way, and it's already who you are. You want to help. And so you see them, you get them. You keep going until you're so tired and you don't stop. You can't get on your 40th rescue that day go, I'm tired, float on your back. No, dude, you keep going, and you keep going, and if you have to throw up on the way, throw up. It's just water, spit it out and go get somebody. And some days were hard rescues. Well, these guys at Katrina go out on these boats, and they came back with these stories like, we had to leave. We women, kids first, and get these people in the boat, and the boat's full, and there's more kids. And they're like, I'm not going. And there's a law enforcement guy, federal, in charge of your boat going, boat's full, you're coming back, we're done. And there's no yes, no, it's just like, you're done making your rescue. Let's go. We'll drop them off, we'll come back. And you can't, these kids don't leave. And they're like, we got to go, boat's full. Come back. Imagine like in the Titanic, boat's full. It's just like, and these guys have these hearts like, no, I got him. I'm going to hold up 8. You come back, I'll be here. And it's like, get in the boat. You're like, machine guns. These guys had to do what they said. They come back and, I bet some had to talk to therapy. That was pretty hard stuff.
When we started, I remember a psychiatrist came to us when we're all getting evaluated. I think,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this is when we got picked up by the fire department. And
A mental evaluation.
Yeah, mental evaluation.
And,
I was the first one to get interviewed out of everyone.
Yeah.
And I was tired, and he asked me, "Have you ever seen a dead person?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "When was the last time you saw a dead person?" I'm like, "Last night." He goes,
Jesus.
"What happened last night?" I go, "We pulled out like 7 bodies from the Tijuana River, and because one Border Patrol was chasing someone, they went in the water, and then we were searching for that guy's body. There was 7 more in that water." And what happened after that? Well, we brought him out, and eventually we just stopped pulling. We stopped looking. There's probably, maybe, possibly more. It's the Tijuana River. Everyone's crossing every night. And he goes, "So what'd you do after that?" I'm like, "We went to Denny's, and we ate, because we used to go to Denny's." And,
Right there, yeah.
And then what? Who'd you talk to? I'm like, "About what?" He goes, "You just saw 7 dead people like 24 hours ago." I'm like, "Yeah, that happens all the time. We just talk to each other." After he evaluated all of us, he realized, like, holy crap, these guys have never had a counselor to talk to. Like, if there's one police shooting, they get to go through a debriefing, what happened, homicides investigating it, talk to this person. You got the, what do you call those people that do the comfort, talk to you?
Yeah, they're
A
the
lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
Crisis intervention
Yeah.
team. So the crisis intervention team comes and they want to know how you're feeling, but we never had anything. We just
No,
saw.
it wasn't like that. I mean, we go look for bodies, and the only thing I ever got told was pretty much when I came out, it was just polluted water, you know. And they'd
Right.
be like, "Hey, you got to go to the hospital and get a gamma shot, you know, gamma goblin." They just get a big needle and hit you right in the back
Right
of the
in
glutes,
the butt,
right in
right.
the butt, and you're
Our
like,
thing
"You should
hurts
be
for
good."
days.
It's like instant, like, you know, purity kind of thing.
Imagine all the. I mean, you have to go in water that, even though you guys got dry suits, that
Not
water.
when we were there.
No,
we had a wetsuit and tennis shoes.
Right, exactly. And what people don't know as far as river rescues, like the reason why there was a lot of death occurred in Tijuana, because you'd have the water coming down these roads. These roads have rocks in them. And after the dirt goes, these round rocks are rolling. So you'll have like only 8 inches of water. You think you can cross it, but you're stepping on these rocks and they're hitting your heels. It's like someone throwing a baseball, or you step on and you flip. And once you lose your ground and you fall, you go right under a car, and you just get pinned under there.
Depending on what
and
part of the river you're
done.
at, down the river valley down there.
Gotta be super
It's
careful.
Tijuana. If it's higher, there could be refrigerators coming down.
Yeah,
Full
I
metal.
had a refrigerator come when I rescued a girl. I had a girl on my arm, and
Get out of the
I
way.
looked, and a refrigerator
Big branches,
pops up, and
metal,
yeah,
whatever's in there.
a horse.
we
We
did.
rescued horses. I walked them out, but I didn't ever saw the dead one upside down or anything. I saw a Volkswagen Bug upside down. They float.
Yeah.
And going by a stop sign about this much, you know, showing.
One rescue we did, talk about river rescues. I was on a call. We're coming back from Tijuana, and we got a call of a person hearing someone yelling for help from a manhole cover. And this was in the middle of Chula Vista.
Is that
Remember I
the
was-
one Mark Brown had?
No,
Like
I
a little
had
Marky. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I think I was on they interviewed me on the news later.
Nice.
So Troy Keesh and I were on that thing. And what happened was this guy went into a flood control channel with his friends in a boogie board, and he went down one of the side pipes. So that side pipe that was rushing with water took him in the city of Chula Vista. And he just traveled, and no one can find him. And then he was yelling from a manhole cover. So, you know how you go in the streets and you see where the water comes in?
Right.
So we climbed in there, and you look in this hole, and the guy's like 15 feet up, but there's a bar, 2 steel bars, and he's holding on like this, and the water's like rushing past his face. He's totally straight. So he's stuck there. We can't reach him. And you could tell he's like hypothermic, water's cold, he's a kid. So talking to him, in fact, Troy Keesh did a good job. I'll give him the credit. He dove down there and talked to the kid, and he was handing him oxygen, like, "Hey, try to breathe this." And we're like, "How the hell do we get this guy out? He's underneath the street." So we had to actually call the city. The city had to cut a hole in the street. Heavy equipment lifted it, dig it all the way down to the pipe, cut one half of the pipe here, one half of the pipe here, cut across his body on top, lift up the shell, and pluck him straight up. And we got him, but he was frozen. You know, so when you pick him up, it's not like he's going to help you walk. He's like a stiff guy, but he's still alive. And that was a good rescue.
Did he live?
Yeah, we were on the news together. He was a 12-year-old kid, and he just thought he was going to.
You had that basement one too with Lerma. I remember that.
Oh
one.
my God! Then that was like the same
You
week.
guys had crazy stuff.
What happened in the basement?
We got a call of a.
This is like in Southeast, isn't it?
Yeah, I forgot what neighborhood, but it wasn't a place that lifeguards should be. But we're there. And
There's
we
no
heard-
beach nearby.
There's no beach nearby. But what happened was there was a flood, and the manhole cover flooded. So water went into this lower parking lot of this apartment complex, and actually filled with water. Well, the way you got in this apartment, you can go in and park behind and go into the back door, or you can come up on the street and the house is up here.
Right.
So there's a lady down there, and she told her husband, hey, the water's coming in, but they had these exotic birds. They had all these exotic birds that they collected. And he goes, don't leave the exotic birds, just stay down there. I'm going to come from work. What had happened, she called, the water's up to her waist now. And she goes, hey, this is up to my waist. And he goes, okay, get out of there. So she went to go open the door, but the door, because the water swelled, and it swelled it and it locked it in place. She couldn't open the door. And there was bars on the window, security bars, so no one would steal the birds. She couldn't get out. She was screaming for help. And no one knew what to do. You know, I'm like, hey, throw a chain and rip that thing out. No one had a chain. No
So they called the
trucks.
lifeguards.
So they called the lifeguards, and we're there, and they go, hey, there's someone. She's not screaming anymore. The water came all the way up to the ceiling. So her and all the birds drowned. So how do we get this body out? So we had to cut a hole. The fire department cut a hole in the kitchen floor, out of all places. So I'm in there. They're cutting a hole in the kitchen floor. And they had to lift up this huge, 3x3 section. And with scuba gear, we dove down there, but we're kind of worried about electrical, right? Because the power's still going, so we're hoping we don't get zapped to death, but we're just going for it because maybe she's in an air pocket or maybe she's still, alive. And then when we got in there, the water kind of receded, so you can see about this much. And you can see the birds. There's birds in our face. There's feathers.
Do you have a tank on or a bailout bottle?
We had bailouts.
Yeah.
And
What's a bailout?
A bailout tank is a
Small
smaller
scuba
scuba tank because you can't fit. So it's like 15 minutes of air if you're breathing normally. And we're calm because this is more like a recovery, not a rescue anymore. Kind of went like was maybe a rescue because you got once you go into body recovery, you slow everything down. Found her, she was dead, and then there's like not a famous, but a picture of us bringing her out in a yellow bag, and it was the husband didn't know she drowned. He came from work. That part was sad. So
Crazy what lifeguards do, though, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't think that'd be lifeguards, but
No.
Frank's talking about that mental test. That's what got you here, and that's
Right.
part of your evaluations. You want to become a full-time lifeguard. You got to work in the winter and be a peace officer. You got to go get a complete background check.
Right.
Make sure you don't have a history of doing anything against the law, wrong, or a propensity to do so. Well, what's a propensity to do so? Well, that would mean what shows that. So we take these tests like the MMPI, the Minnesota Multi-Personality Index.
Right.
Anywhere from 500 to 1,300 questions, and a secondary test that asks you questions like, have you ever thought about sleeping with your mother? And then they ask you, the fifth question is, do you like dogs? And then again, 20 questions later, has your mother ever wanted to sleep with you? And you're like what? Would you ever? And you're like, it's just trying to get you on these programs, your brain. So you go in afterwards, and the psychologist sits there and then reads about you and goes off what it tells you might be lacking in or proficient in, and asking you questions. Like, hey, tell me about your college, when you went to college, how was that for you? Did you ever have feelings that were uneasy? And you have to have that conversation, and then he either passes you or he doesn't.
Right.
Right.
You
She passes
you
you,
can
right?
have a
Sorry.
good personality, but some personalities are not conducive to what the job entails. So some people that don't get it don't understand that they may have they show a high level of anxiety, or they show a propensity to not talk and keep everything in. That could be PTSD later. So they're very good at doing specific things, but they're not good for this particular job. And then you got guys that you wouldn't even think would be good at this job, and they're really good at this job. The one thing I noticed in the lifeguards is not all of them look like they're in shape. And I remember thinking like, okay, I'm going to do a run, swim, run against this person, and look at them. They're
Yeah, it's kind of fat.
kind of overweight, looks kind
Right.
of sloppy, and all of a sudden they'd start running and they don't stop. And they swim like they don't stop. They're insane.
Like a seal.
Like
Seals are fat. They swim.
You underestimate people. So after that, it really taught me you don't know what you're up against, and that's good because when you're doing a rescue, because they often attack you, right? Because they want to climb on your body. What do you do? Let's tell the audience. Okay, so you're at a rescue.
Yep.
Let's say there's 4 victims. Okay, we're doing mass rescue. One of them they're trying to lift up this one. You grab this one. They leech onto you. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, depending on if they're kids, how small, if they're big, that kind of thing. I've had people that are 350 pounds and kids that, are weigh nothing. So if you think you can handle the situation, I'd probably grab an arm, take it off you, and hold this person up, get them in a cross chest back carry. Hey, I got you. Don't worry, you're safe now. Now, if they're not handleable, they've got fingernails and they're grabbing you. What usually happens, they scratch you and take the skin off you, and you're like, God darn it.
Yeah, that's
And then you make a decision, is this one of the ones where I have to drop straight down out of the water, kick them away, push them away, go deeper, and come back? Because if I go deep, if you're thinking you're drowning, you don't want to come down with me.
Right.
Right.
So I just go straight down. I mean, if I had to, I'd give somebody an elbow to the face, make him stop if it's going to keep him alive. Never had to do that, but the fingernails have got me a few times. Go straight down to the bottom. I come back up. I get a few feet away, and I go, hey, and I scream at him, stop, I mean, I'm literally screaming, hey, and I just turn back, you grab this, and I'm pushing the buoy between us. If I don't like that, I'm going to come up behind you. I'm just going to yank you back down. I got you. Stop what you're doing. That kind of, just have to manhandle it. Either get them in.
Because people are in a panic state. They're trying to fight you, but they're really trying to climb out of the water on your body. They just want to launch.
Yeah, they're panicked.
It's called the ladder, like the last
You
steps.
hand them a buoy, and they'll sometimes flip over it 3 times before they even grab on. It depends what state of panic they're in.
Right.
If you can yell, and you wake them up, and they'll grab, I got you. Hold on. Don't let go.
Don't you think that in schools, every kid should learn how to swim?
Yeah, they're trying to do that now, but absolutely, because we're in San Diego. 98% of drownings occur in the house, in a pool, or in a 5-gallon container when a kid will go face
Or in the
first,
toilet.
like a
Some
baby.
kids put their heads in the
Right.
toilet.
Their head's the heaviest part of their body
Right.
at that age. I've had them on Mission Bay before, where a parent leaves for a second, leaves a little one thinking they're fine right there on the grass. They crawl down a little bit, and all of a sudden they're in a puddle that's just off the bay, and their face is down. They're down like this. You better run over in this deep and pick them up.
Right.
Because their head's still the heaviest.
Yeah, that's why
thing.
raising kids was tough, man. I put the locks on my toilet lids
Good job.
Yeah.
when my kids, because I don't want. And my kids had big heads. They look like those toys. I just go the head first. All I'd see is legs. So I lock the toilets.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's hard to unlock them at night. When
The
you
best
have
thing
to
to do if you have kids in San Diego, we call it waterproof your kids. Get them in that pool every day. If you don't have a pool, you go to the bay.
But we didn't have that.
No.
We got thrown in literally.
Right.
We got thrown in a pool when we were kids.
2.5. Diver supply right here in Midway.
Right.
Just they tossed me right in
They
and
did.
said, do it.
Remember that? I remember the
I
diver
had my
supply.
little cards called the minnow and the guppy, and I'd go to the next stage.
Right.
3 years old.
Yeah, just throw you in.
That's what used to happen. I remember.
We
They
were
can't do that
panicked, but
anymore.
we swam to the edge of the pool.
Right. Many people learn how to swim that way. That'll just take in, throw you in the middle of the deep end, and go figure it out. And you figure it
He's
out.
standing there.
Yeah, there's not much you can
Can
do.
I
It's
remember-
really sad when people get to be of age and they still don't know how to swim, especially if they're in San Diego. They don't might not live on the coast, but they're still in San Diego. Then they go to the beach for the first time and they're sitting there in high school or whatever else, and they go out a little bit and they're super panicked. Well, they fall in a little bit of a hole. That's really panicking. How long are they going to stay afloat? So we have that still. I actually taught a class at UC Davis like that, and it was a physical education class for non-swimmers to swim, to get them swim worthy again. And so my class started out with, I think, about just 10 or 12 people. And I had to start with baby steps, sit on the side of the pool and just put your feet in. And that was hard.
Yeah.
And then after that, we go sit on the first step and I drop a penny. Can you pick that up on the second step and get them in finally?
How old are
they get
these?
touched. These are adult people, students, 18 to 23 in college. So I'm standing next to these people, bringing one in at a time, saying, look, I got you. We're in waist deep water. Nothing can happen to you. I've rescued lots of people. Finally, I had to get their trust. And I got all the trust except one. This one girl, which put her feet in by herself, and she fell a little bit, and she didn't come back to class. And that happened. But by the end of the quarter,
Were
I
they
had
swimming?
the rest of the people jumping off the low dive and swimming all the way to the side in their clothes safe. And that's what
I remember that.
we did for 3 months. Kind of cool. Yeah.
That just reminds me of the recent disaster in Lahaina. Just got burnt down.
Right.
And many people swam in the ocean to get away with it, and some of those drowned because of the direction
And they
of the
drowned.
smoke.
I think there was smoky out there.
To get away from that fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was sad, but you never know when you need that as a skill. So everyone should at least get in that water. And
Flotation devices, right? Hawaii's got surfboards. Throw those things. If you have 10,
Right.
throw them out in the water so
Right.
people can hang on to the side of them.
right,
I mean, how can you? That's another point right here. Is you're talking about the kids not learning how to swim. Well, we have so many on the coast that know how to swim because they're brought up right next to the water. We got to teach those ones how to either affect the rescue, make the rescue, know the triage. First, I call 911. Second, I grab a surfboard and hand it to them. Third, I try to help out without getting taken down. So we started things like the junior lifeguards.
Okay,
And so you learn how to become one at a young age, what to do and what not
How
to do.
old are you? How old do you have to be to start that junior lifeguards?
I don't know.
It's 10, but I believe 10. It was either 9 or 10, but they also have a pre-program to that now feeds in there. A little more of like a camp that feeds into that and gets them started going 2 years prior to the regular start date. And they have A through E as you climb up to 14 or 15. You jump higher off the pier. You spend more time in the water, and then you can get to be a intern and help out. And go sit in a tower for a second with a real lifeguard and get some training. It's a great,
That's
wonderful
a cool program.
It started with 50 people, just a few of us helping, and it's like 3,000 plus people or something.
Yeah, when we first started that program, it was small.
Tiny.
And now it's like you can't get in. You have to be there. You know,
The day it
everyone's-
opens.
Yeah, the day you're by the computer, ready to go. 11 o'clock, send, and you still may not get it. It's such a nice program. I love it because
And they give a lot of scholarships to people that can't afford it to come in from other areas that aren't maybe not coastal,
Right.
that show a need based to get them also that way. And hopefully they'll go back and pass the word that was a great program. This is why I'm a good swimmer, and we get more people from all over San Diego participate.
yeah, and there's
Wonderful
just some people
program.
that just won't get in. I remember,
But each beach has them, not just San Diego.
Right.
Del Mar's got them.
Right, Del Mar has a great
them.
program.
Solana Beach,
Encinitas, yeah.
Coronado, IB, they all have junior lifeguard programs.
yeah. And in fact, what people don't know out there is our lifeguards also train Mexican lifeguards. So we go to Tijuana and we bring them the equipment. And I remember when
And
we
Cabo.
in Cabo we got a big group of lifeguard out there doing a really good job. But I remember when we first went to Tijuana, there was a rescue and you know, they got the police blowing the whistle, Brrr, you know, come in, and then he didn't come in, and then when they rescued him, the cop arrested him for not following a police order. Like that's how backwards it was. Like, dude, he wants to come in. Okay, he's not running from you. You don't arrest him. It's called a rescue. But now that was years ago. So now
Right.
we teach them. We bring them equipment. We work with, they call them the Salvavida, the fire guys, and those guys are friggin' talented.
They're
You know how
getting
those
their
guys are
program dialed.
really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you used to hang out at Wind and Sea all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you see for rescues? Just being a patron.
Well,
there?
so at Wind and Sea, the lifeguard didn't have anything. He sat on a rock, and then
Right.
sometimes
Under the hut.
no,
Or just out by the front of it?
on the rock, right?
No,
Or
no,
like
down
Pump
a
House, the other ones?
Yeah, the
Okay.
other ones. Like they just you just
Yeah,
show
but-
up and he'd sit on a rock. Sometimes he'd have an umbrella, sometimes he wouldn't, and
Right.
they just sat there.
Right.
But when they did a rescue at Wind and Sea, it was gnarly because they had, and I actually did one of these rescues with one. I did the rescue. This guy was in the surf body womping, and I heard, "Hey, we need some help. We need some help."
To the south or north of the main Wind and Sea?
North.
North, right off of Westbourne.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Turtles.
the guy was
Yes.
laying in the water. He had broke his neck
Oh, jeez.
in the surf.
Yeah.
So I had to stabilize him, and
Right.
then I held his neck. I probably held that guy's neck for 30 minutes.
How'd you know to do that?
For training. I've been trained. I used to be a cop.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
I
taught
had
you
training.
that for the cop.
So I held his neck until the lifeguards came down, put a sea collar on him, and they actually taped him to the gurney.
Right.
And so, and then they took him away, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I hope that guy's not paralyzed, you know? And then literally 3 months later, I was at the Panikin coffee shop, and I see this dude, and he has one of those halos on
Right.
with bolts in his neck. And I go, I remember, he goes, dude, you freaking rescued me. He goes, they thought I could have been paralyzed, but they got me there just in time. I don't know what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended up,
Stabilized.
stabilized
Yeah,
him.
I had one of those guys too. I saw him later, and
He had the bolts in his
halo
head.
and-
Yeah.
I remember the ones that stick out like that too that didn't end up so well. You know, and I thought I had them, and I'm walking up to Ocean Beach to start a 12 o'clock shift. You know, the late shift, 12 to 8, middle of the day, and I have like sweatpants on, and I'm kind of walking up about 20 minutes early. And I remember walking up, and all of a sudden I see like something going on in the water that is just not right.
Right.
And I just, what's going on? And I realized that's a surfer trying to pull a body onto the board. And it probably happened just for the main tower saw it too. And I dropped my lunch and everything and just started running, yelling, you know, lifeguard, you know, come over here, that kind of thing. And I'm running out in the water, and this guy had got a surfer that went up and hit the lip and hit his head, pile drove it right in the sand, and just broke his spine. And we got him. You know, we got him in. Things were working quickly. Got him in, put him on the backboard. I'd get out there and I'm like, hey, I need more surfers. Come here. I know everybody in the water. Pinch his nose when a wave comes. Hold water, hands over his face so he doesn't breathe in any water. He's talking. What's going on? He's like, I can't feel anything. You know, he's talking to me. And he's kind of gargling a little bit, not because of water, just because his neck is messed up. And we bring him in, holding him really perfectly. We bring him on and all of a sudden we look up, bring him on the beach, and I got the fire department doing a beach walk. Right there. I'm like, guys, they come over, they help. I look back, and we have a paramedic unit in the Newport Beach parking lot eating their lunch. What luck.
Yeah, perfect.
Boom, I got them. I got 4. Boom, I got these 2. Let's get him. Let's package him. Let's get him loaded to the hospital. And he still comes back with just limited arm use and no leg use, completely paralyzed. He's a real estate agent now. He's a really great guy. Gives a lot of great talks. Ended up marrying his caregiver, and Tony Mazzadri, and he comes back and does talks like that. And they have a surf contest for him every year in Ocean Beach by the
Tony
Sunset
who?
Cliffs Association.
What's his last name?
Mazzadri.
Tony
Point
Mazzadri. Shout
Loma.
out to Tony.
Yeah. Especially I even saw him a few years later, and I told him that story when I was on top of him, got in charge of his head, and he's talking to where my kids are going to school at Warren Walker in Point Loma, a private school there, and he's talking to him, giving him the whole talk, and out of a wheelchair. And just for them to look and to listen and to learn and to know how to be, you got to be careful in the water. I was a really good surfer. I think he was working at the chart house, and boom, it just happened.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Yeah, stuff like that happens every day.
What
You
happens
don't
in
even know.
swimming pools? So now, from what I understand, is they don't allow diving boards. They don't build swimming pools with diving boards anymore.
Well, they can't. They what it is that you can't get home insurance. It's too because people always jump too far and they go into the shallow and they do a.
Well, and you're at home, so you could have people with alcohol drinking. I mean,
Of course.
I have my Juris
You
Doctor
could
degree
spike.
myself, and
But
I
we
see
always-
negligence all the time.
We all did the
Right.
stupid stuff. We would be like, okay, forget the board, and we see if we can run across the rooftop.
jump
you
off the
did that.
roof.
I know you've done it. Run off the roof and jump in the pool.
Never.
Yeah, never?
It's unsafe.
Ah.
Yes, a million times. But still,
Okay, yeah, that's right.
right.
It's just jump
Yeah,
from the roof to the pool.
Yeah.
So it's
That's what kids do.
what you have to do as a lifeguard also is there's a whole fire department attached to the lifeguards, and there's lifeguards who operate, which I just went on about 2 weeks ago. They have like $1 million fireboat. It's like a fire engine. It is a fire engine in the water. So it has to be manned by at least 3 people. It has
Well, are the lifeguards manning it or the
lifeguards.
fire? So
lifeguards.
Yeah, we don't say manning it anymore, staffing it.
Oh, staffing it. Okay.
Change that.
Got it. Staffing it with personnel. Doesn't matter what gender they are. They're going to rescue people.
But we have turnouts, big fire.
Fire gear.
Right, firefighter gear that we put on that go out the boats, put out fires. But it also has pump out capabilities for boats that are taking on water.
Right.
Has some other things you could do.
You
Has
ever put
scuba-
out a fire?
stuff.
Yeah, many. I've been
Yes.
on that fireboat many times. What you use that, it's hard to operate. You got to be pretty much skilled. I mean, there's not too many
It's a
people
different
that can
kind
operate.
of boat than you usually drive. It's the twin screws. versus
Right,
the-
right. So we had the twin screws. So when you're fighting a fire, like a fire engine just on land will just sit there, and then you attach the hoses to the fire hydrant. It goes back through the engine. That's why they call it a fire engine, and they monitor how much pressure is going to go out to the hoses. So that's what that truck does. Same thing with the boat, but the boat is floating, and the boat has
And you have a spray nozzle in the
Right.
front, and then you have hoses in the back.
right. So when you put the pressure on the hose, the whole boat blows away. So you got to use your gears to make sure, and you're not running over people in the water, and the smoke's not coming
And
at
when
you.
a
and how
boat's
to-
on fire, you got lots of smoke. So
Yeah,
if
lots
you
of
got to
smoke.
be upwind,
Right.
If you start moving, you get downwind, all the smoke coming in your face. That's just not going to work.
Right, and also if the wind changes, you got a problem. But they got these monitors right now on the boat. For those people who care, it's 1,500 gallons per minute. It used to be 500. So they got these huge monitors that spray out 1,500 gallons
But it
per
sucks
minute.
out the seawater.
Yeah,
and sprays
so-
that again.
right.
So it's unlimited supply and
Right,
meets
exactly.
you, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
But we'd also work at Jason. The one I went on was those cottages that were on Deanza Cove. And the fire department came, and we would be a support from them if we get the boat close enough.
Exactly. So we could
And-
provide the hoses to the other firefighters on the land if there's like a boat fire on a place where
You
all the
could have
boats.
fuel in your bilge that needs foam
Right.
to put it out, right? For all the AFFF foam kind of problems now.
Right.
And what if that person is filling up at one of the dock gas stations that could blow up?
Right.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right.
So the first thing you want to do is hook
So that's a
up.
lifeguard today.
Right.
A little more to it, yeah?
Okay, so one thing that's been in the news a lot is shark attacks. And there's just been this
Yeah.
increase in shark attacks. Shark bite, not
Listen,
not-
I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, what is
I'm
it?
with you. Go for it.
Yeah, first of all, there's more drones up there. Those sharks have always been out there. Okay, we've seen them before. I swam around.
Agreed.
Yeah, I swam around the pier a few times. Saw about an 8-foot hammerhead off of Scripps in La Jolla. It looked at me. It just kept going. We saw a great white off of Wind and Sea. Baby, they call them juveniles, but that's 9 foot. 9-foot fish is huge, and the drones are capturing. But they have always been out there. They've always been swimming right in the surf line. They've always been leaving people alone. Every once in a while, they probably are hungry and get confused that they're coming up for a seal, and they hit like the guy who got killed the swimmer off of Del Mar, the triathlete. That was a major attack. It got
A
his
little
femoral
further up
artery.
than Del Mar.
A little further up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neatest, like,
So, but how many people swim miles every day in the ocean and nothing ever happens? I mean, it's
so
millions.
it's going to be sensationalized by the news media
Right.
because the word shark comes to you like when someone says cancer, it's like, oh, it's like shark. It's like, oh my gosh, sharks are in the water.
Shark Week.
So it hits you real big. And so whenever something like that happens, it's really reported. You know, they don't report about stingray stings. That's what happens all the time in the water.
Right.
You got to do the stingray shuffle with your feet and don't run in. Those things hit you. They have a hard barb. They shoot in poison just like a bee, probably 4 or 5 times the strength of a bee.
Right.
And that
And
really
more.
hurts for like an hour really bad. You got to put your foot in hot water, go to the lifeguard station right
and
away.
if you're allergic to
If
bees,
you're allergic to bees, say anaphylactic shock, you can get you EpiPen right away.
Right.
You know, with you, and so that happens more. I'd like to see more stories on that reported. That's the likelihood. Shark attacks. I mean, 60 something. We had one. The guy never showed up, but he had a multi-million-dollar insurance policy, and he might have went to Mexico. Then we've had a couple. I know the girl you were on that died at Sunset Cliffs.
Yeah.
That was a true shark attack.
Yeah,
but
that
there were
was
stories
definitely
about that. How did she really drown? Did somebody take her out there? Well, she's midnight swimming in Sunset Cliffs.
Oh,
In
it's
a
kinda
pond area.
strange.
It's not good, right? And then you get the triathlete. Well, probably dressed like a seal.
Right.
Probably had black on. The
Right.
shark, picked the wrong thing. Thought it was a seal to
Right.
eat. So you just don't have that many. I mean, car accidents by the millions, right? So don't worry about that. You're going to be fine from a
Yeah.
shark. Look out for the stingrays. Go out there. Don't get in a rip current. Ask your lifeguard where you should swim that day. Listen to him. Don't just go, this looks fine. No. Where's the closest lifeguard, guy or girl, right? Lifeguard. Where can I swim? Is that safe? Is there any area that's not safe? Excellent. Thanks. Good. I would love to answer that question.
Right.
Right.
yeah. So you have to go and evaluate, and also for scuba guys, you get this group of scuba people, right?
I
And they
see 'em all the time.
We're going to go Sunday. We're going to all dive on Sunday. Meet at 8 a.m. at La Jolla Shores, and then they get to the shores. The weather is horrible. The surface 3 to 4 foot, zero visibility, and they still go out. So what they have to do is say, depending on the conditions, it's not safe to dive. And we've had several people.
That's
Right.
the discretionary level, right?
Right.
So you have the human idiot factor, right? And so it's just like
Yeah, you got
well, that's what keeps everybody in business,
Right.
right? Everybody's an idiot, and then you're stealing stuff, or they're drowning, and so it keeps all of us in business, I guess. But at the same time, it's like we need some common sense line, right? That's why we have signs. That's why we put up flags, because to catch those people that aren't going to come up to us and ask and see wait a minute, what's that doing here?
There's one funny story I remember.
Just one.
I got so many. I have to
Any
monitor.
word you say sets them off. I
Yeah.
can tell you how many have you had together, dude. Come on.
Yeah, we did so many, but there's one. It involves. I don't know if I say his name's Kevin. Okay, you'll figure it out his last name. And we were in Mission Bay, and a lady fell off a catamaran, and she was floating because she was heavy. I mean, we're talking like in the 400 range. And so we get there, and we have our boat, and she's floating. She's fine, but she's panicking. So we go, okay, we're just gonna try to get you on our boat, okay? But I don't know how big she was because I could only see her shoulders. But apparently she was very big. And so when I was pulling her up, the guard jumps in the water and gets like behind her butt to push her. And I kind of laughed, but I was also slipping. I'm like, I can't hold on to her anymore. And I was trying to tell him, get out of that area. And I couldn't do
He's
it.
a
And
great-
I just
great
let her go,
lifeguard,
and
too.
I just see him disappear between her legs, and he literally didn't come up. So I go, this guy, he's not drowning, he's suffocating because he's between this chick's, between
Okay.
her, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And so, I mean, it was just wrapped around him. And I see a little movement down there. Like it was almost.
Jeez.
And I was, unfortunately, I was laughing too hard to like figure out he's probably in real danger right now.
But he's a
and then he
lifeguard,
pops
isn't he?
up, and I'm like,
You
"Want
okay?
to try again?" He's like, "We got to tow her." So I'm like, "We can't tow a human being." So we did. We ended up like, she hung on to the side, and we just held her, and then we. One knot, really slow. We got her up
It's
to
not
dry
so
land.
easy to get her into
It's
a
not
vessel.
easy,
You have
so
about
right.
this far where you got to
Yeah.
pick the person up.
Nah, they can't get in
So
there.
these things you can go to all the training you want, but you're gonna have another person fell out of his boat, and you had a boat just going in circles. It was on, okay, and so we rescued this guy, but this thing starts to go and it's starting to go towards the swimming zone. So you have this boat going nuts,
But
full
nobody's
speed.
in it.
Nobody's in it. So you got to figure out how do you stop this boat. So we got this net. We have these nets and they're made out of nylon mesh, and what you do is you try to throw it, and once the propeller hits it, it'll wrap it and it'll seize it up. Well, this one just ran right through it and just cut it, just kept going. So you have to clear beaches until it finally crashed on the beach.
And those have cut off legs and hands, and you find a finger, and someone's looking for it, and you got to put it in something frozen and get it off to the hospital.
Is
I mean,
it? I said
yeah,
you
I
put it.
things
I
happen.
remember
Are you supposed
a
to put
lady
it in
come-
milk? I heard you stick the finger in milk. Is that?
I had a
that
lady-
for teeth, but I've never heard of it. I had that into a tooth before, and I just find it and I shove it right back in. I situate it perfectly, and right where it's supposed to be, give it an extra little push, and then I'm like, you got to go to the dentist right now if you want to save it. Yeah, I've had it on the baseball field before, coaching baseball, and it worked. Yeah, the kid's tooth is all the way, over here, but it's just moved over and shove it up. And the dentist is like, you did it perfect, and good for you. You got 2 front teeth now.
We always like to joke around. I remember we had, again with Killer Clark, we had to mess with this. You can't do it anymore because it's hazing or whatever, but we do things like, he really loved to go to SeaWorld. Remember, he was obsessed with SeaWorld, so we go, hey, there was an escape. There's an escape at SeaWorld. We had all the penguins got away, and they're in Mission Bay, and we got to round them up. So go find them. So
Literally, send them off. But there's a little
Is this
penguin
true?
area on the side of Mission Bay out there. Nothing happened, but that's so we send
yeah,
them
so
off.
we just send them off to do a patrol looking for it.
It's downtime. When you're lifeguarding and you have to deal with not talking to a psychologist and seeing dead bodies and all that, you have to have a little fun on your downtime
Exactly.
as long as you're not having too much fun.
Right.
So you have to know where the level
And
is.
then we told them there was an 8-foot crocodile spotted in one of the inlets coming into Mission Bay. You have to sit out there, and when you see him, radio us to see where the alligators.
He's like, I'm not going out there. I'm not going.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just had so much fun with these guys, but you can't do that anymore. You
No
can't-
wonder
you
I
can't
had
mess with them.
PTSD.
No, yeah, that was
yeah.
that was a little different back then.
But that's how you debrief.
Oh, you have to debrief. You do
You know?
stuff. You put one guy used to put charcoal around the edge of the binoculars and then hand them to the boss, the lieutenant. So when he'd put them up there, he'd take them off. He'd have raccoon eyes, had a black charcoal, wouldn't know it. A couple hours goes by until you hear him scream when he's finally in the bathroom. God dang it, who the freak?
He's already been out as a lieutenant talking to the public and
Right.
telling them, please go over here, ma'am. I'm the lieutenant in charge. And he comes back and he's
Charcoal
like,
on his
black
eye.
eyes.
damn it, Powell, get over here.
Oh, we definitely mess with each other all the time. We had one guy that once we found their weakness, we'd exploit it. So we had one guy that was scared of spiders. John is just horrified of spiders. So of course, hey, let's put spiders in his locker. And
Imagine that now.
I
Like,
can't do it.
making a combative
I think
workplace.
you get
or-
fired.
You'd be
yeah,
in
you get
trouble.
fired.
You'd be
We
done.
actually found what's called a spider crab. Spider crabs. They're big crabs
Yeah.
with long legs.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
We got one in Mission Bay. It was alive. It was huge. So we stuck it in his locker, and you can hear screaming from 5 miles away. After that, I left the guy alone. So he opened his locker and he had this big old crab that looked like a tarantula.
Remember that time we were fishing?
Oh yeah,
the
we're
Harbor
fishing
Patrol?
and, yeah,
Oh.
hooked
I
someone's
was
face.
fishing. I was fishing. It's illegally at headquarters. Did I ever tell you this story?
I don't think so.
So Frank goes, "Hey, come down to headquarters. Some barracuda out here. We're gonna fish right off the dock." I go, and no one's here because you're not allowed
Not
to
allowed
fish.
to,
This is
right.
like night. Where I'm out there, and I'm throwing my line in, and Corey Clark pulls up in the Harbor Patrol boat. Okay, and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
getting off, and so I'm fishing, and I go back to cast, and I hear, "God damn it!" And I look, and I hooked Corey Clark with a fishing lure with a white worm in his cheek, and I sunk it in really deep, and he let go of his face. He let go of his hand, and he had this worm hanging on his cheek. I'm like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry."
That's Kelly's brother, older brother.
Yeah.
who went to
Right.
So he
customs.
goes,
Right.
"God damn it, Powell!" So he's up in the tower, and he's trying to use pliers to pull it out, but he gets so pissed he
There's
throws the
some
entire
barb on it,
he
yeah.
threw the entire first aid kit out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had to go to the hospital. They cut it, and
That was fun. No, you can actually
Yeah, we couldn't do those.
fish for. But why couldn't you fish for barracuda?
But you can imagine with these fun stories, the camaraderie on the real stories,
Right.
the serious stuff.
Well,
I
the
mean,
serious
you're-
stuff is like when I'm on my scuba team searching for a dead body.
Well, I'm out there, right, middle of the night, and I put my hand up, I need assistance. I got
Right.
4 people on one can and one's aspirating, and I got to get more help, and everybody's in the water doing their own rescues, and you get somebody else there, and all of a sudden Frank shows up. He's like, I got these 2. Okay, I got these 2. I'm like, could you take 3? I got 3. I take this one in. She's bad. Okay, I got these 3. And it's just like, so you learn to count on each other.
Oh, yeah,
so
right.
if he calls me right now, 10,
Right.
20, 25 years later, if he calls me right now and goes, hey, my daughter's, this is going on with me. I need you right here. And I haven't talked to him. If I haven't talked to him in 6 months, a year, 2 years, I'm there.
Right.
There's no.
Yeah, you're like a real
where am
brotherhood.
I?
Yeah, it's good.
It's just the way it goes. And if he
the way
calls
it
you with
goes.
backup somewhere or somebody's looking for him, he's looking for
And
me.
we help each other.
So
It's-
didn't the
yeah.
police used to call you guys also to do weapon recovery oftentimes?
Yeah, we have, somebody shoots someone, throws a weapon
Throws
off
a
a
weapon
bridge.
in the bridge, or suicide, boom, hits herself, it falls in the water off the jetty. It could be anything, a knife from crime, right?
God, that just reminded me of another story. Guy shot his head off in front of me. I didn't think he was going to do it.
The one in the car by Leisure or on the jetties or what?
No, this guy was on the dock at De Anza.
I got a guy on a
I was
jetty
with
too.
like John Clemmer. And we were just there doing training on the fireboat, and we heard there's a guy on the dock that's threatening to kill himself. And we were at that dock, and I'm looking, I'm like, where is he? Because we happened to be there, and I saw him sitting there like with his legs crossed, and he got up, and I saw the police kind of looking at him, and they're looking at us, going, "What are you guys doing?" Because our boat was way too close, and we wanted to have, want to get out
Yeah,
of there.
distance.
We're already there, and as we're pulling up, he looks right at us. He goes, "And tell my ex she can have that card." Boom! Just doesn't hesitate. 357 Magnum.
Yeah.
Head just goes everywhere. Falls on the dock. Instantly, the seagulls come to eat the head. Like, it was so gross. He fell into the water. The gun's gone. So it went from a chaotic state in a millisecond silence. And then you see these birds going to pick up brain matter. And I remember, that's what I remember. I'm like, God, those birds are disgusting. And then so we had to, recover the body. And then
People want to do that in a place of like, where there's like some kind of, solemnness where they're, out of rocks and it's like the sunset, whatever else, it's time to go. So they
Right.
go out to
Right.
th 'jetties where they can fall over,
Yes.
that kind of thing. And we've had them like
So
tied
many.
to shopping carts and push themselves, not to give anybody any ideas, off the pier.
Pier, right.
And you find
Really?
him all the way to the bottom and you got to
Yeah.
cut off with the handcuff or whatever else is on there.
Yeah.
That was OB, bring him up. You find them weights in their pockets and they jump off and it takes them down, they can't get back. It's just crazy stuff like that.
we had this one guy that called
That's us getting them.
a girl.
Yes,
called,
I know. You guys are the ones who go in the water and pull them out.
Brant Bass brings that guy up, and I grab him part of the way underneath. It's an old lieutenant, a person that used to work for us. I know, not necessarily old lieutenant. I talk to Brant still, but as I'm bringing,
Trust me, he's old.
but bringing him up with Brant, and he's got his scuba stuff on. I don't. And I grab the body and I throw it right on top of the back of the fireboat, who's
Right.
waiting for the body. I got the news cameras up there on us,
Right.
and I'm going. I got people everywhere looking, and I'm like, I got a little lifeguard one they just picked up, a brand new lifeguard, a rookie from Mission Bay to help out on the back of the boat,
Right.
So I left the boat. I'm helping Brant. I get him on top and I throw him. He's been down maybe 25, 30 minutes. He's dead.
Right.
After 4-8 minutes for sure, you're gone.
Right.
Throw him on the boat like this, and he was tied onto the cart.
Onto a shopping cart?
actual shopping cart. Yeah. And
Did you
this-
bring the shopping cart up with you?
No, they clipped. You were able to clip him off. It was just a rope tie, and use a knife and get him off. Anyway, brought him up. I threw him on the back of the boat, and this kid named Bruce, I won't say his last name, goes right there to lip lock him.
Oh no.
To stick his mouth to mouth on this guy. You don't know where he's been. He's
Right.
dead and the whole bit, but the news cameras are there. And so you want to keep doing your job. You want to put the oxygen mask on him and do it. And I just go, he's a rookie. And I just ramp my hand from in the water right in between his mouth. And I go, no.
Yeah, this is body recovery.
Pull him back. Well, we're going to get to him.
Yeah.
So anyway, we brought him back, and of course he was dead. But I remember this
did a-
rookie going for it.
I did a CPR on a guy at Black's Beach for 45 minutes and he lived. It's very rare where they live because we didn't have pallets. We couldn't shock them back then. So you got to get that. If there's any like ventricular fibrillation, if there's anything in the heart that's going on, you have to shock them. The compressions just, provides oxygen so they can kind of keep the body alive, basically. So this one guy had a seizure at Black's Beach, and they brought him in. We got there, he just cut his wetsuit, just started pumping his heart, and then we had to wait for paramedics because we're on the bottom of a cliff, and then put him in the rig, continue CPR.
That's a lot of CPR.
A lot of CPR up the hill, all the way to the emergency room, the trauma center inside.
That's
UCC.
old school days.
That's
Yeah.
old
You
school.
and I had one like that together. So you and I take off. It's in between. We're working Mission Beach. He's a supervisor there, and I'm working one of the main guards. And we have two other guards at Mission that day. We luckily had 4. Generally, it's only 3. And Pacific Beach had 2 guards. Right in between us, a little more on the PB side, they have their bodies being dragged in from the water. This guy had this heart attack, so nobody could spot him.
Who's
that quick.
dragging him in?
Surfer, somebody's helping out. So we get a call. I go, Frankie, let's go. So Frank jumps in, to drive, and we're flying lights and sirens. It's an open beach. It's early morning. We can fly down there. It's probably like 9 or 10. And the news media gets the call. They're somewhat close doing stuff. They start coming. Frank and I show up, and this other lifeguard, I'm not going to say his last name, wonderful lifeguard, great man, went way high up in the lifeguard service. His name is John, no last name, and he come in and he turns the corner. I've known him since grade school. I look over and I said his name, and I said his nickname. I said, Frank, you got O2, oxygen. Grab the oxygen. I go, I'm going to go grab him, work on him, because I like to grab the chest first, so I don't got to make sure I don't do any mouth stuff. I don't have to, right? And John got there first, so he goes for the mouth stuff. And this was back when we would do a mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
You know, they don't do that anymore because the diseases and stuff. If you can, you put something else there. I still would never hesitate on a kid myself, but this is an adult, probably 55-year-old man, and that had a seizure or heart attack in the water. And so anyway, we get there, and the crowd's starting to form around him, and we're just like, move out of the way. So we get there, and I tell John, I go, you got mouth, I got compressions. So I fill up, I get ready for compressions. He tilts the head back, you know, and he goes for like a lip, he gives like a little breath, and he's like, go down again. And I go,
I remember.
You remember this, man?
What happened?
Never. This is the honest to God truth, no exaggeration. I go, bam, and I just give him a hard CPR right in there. 1, 2. And right as John goes down to put his mouth on him, he like take a breath, like that. Was he inhales and I pushed, the guy shoots a piece of pasta about this big, a moon-shaped orange-green pasta out of his mouth, and John's like, on the inhale, it goes into John's mouth and swallows it. And I go, I've known this guy since Little League. And I look up and I'm like, did that just fucking happen? I go, are you serious? Did that just happen? I look at him, I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, continue CPR. Like, you know, people are looking, let's just keep going. And he's got the O2, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm just like doing this. We get him to the medics, and I got to help out. They need me in the back pumping on him. So I'm pumping on him, holding on. This is back when Mission Bay Hospital was there.
Right.
And I'm pumping on him in the back. The guy's still dead. We turned back into Mission Bay Hospital. They get there, and they're like, hey, lifeguard. I'm like, yeah. They're like, come on back in. We're going to ambu bag a little separate respiration device. I kept going in the ER the whole time. You know, he came back, and he lived for a couple days, and he didn't make it anymore, brain dead, so he died. But John, I'm not going to say his last name. John swallowed dead guy pasta. Yeah,
That's what we call him now, the pasta man.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's happened a lot. I've had a couple people throw up in my mouth when I was
That
doing
was a
it.
weird one. Well, throw up's one thing. You can tilt him and push it to the side.
Yeah, but this
guy shot a piece of.
They won't.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing it.
Hey, you
It was
did the Heimlich
moon.
on him.
A moon shape,
God.
like orange, like dripping with like green on the pot. Oh my God.
Sean has PTSD every time he eats pasta. right?
He can't eat pasta.
No more ravioli. Yeah.
No.
What else do we have? We have a.
And so
many
this is just
stories.
this is just you two guys.
Yeah, there's a whole team.
There's a whole bunch of guys that have stories like this,
Right.
but they should have a whole section of some type of psychiatric service with the
You would
county
think. You would think.
to help everybody who's the emergency response.
You see, like we had people chopped up with a boat. You know, like one guy was.
What do you mean chopped up?
I remember one guy was hanging onto the back of a boat. You know, like you have to step, and then his buddy like put the boat in reverse.
Was the engine on?
So the propeller.
The propeller was on, so he got sucked underneath in front of his family and chopped in half. And so.
There's the bad ones, the
Yeah,
gory
those
ones.
are
There's some
the-
great stories in
it
a
was
book
just
by Ed Vedroska, who's
horrible.
a state lifeguard, one that used to carry the gun, lieutenant.
Right, yeah.
So Ed Vedroska, we call him Eddie V, very well known throughout the whole state as an instructor.
Yeah, super
and he's
great
now
guy.
retired after 44 years or something. And he has one or two books out, I believe two, but the first one is just lifeguard stories, and it's a really good read.
Yeah.
Recommend it.
Every lifeguard, you can make it a career. People don't understand. You go to an actual academy. They have it here at San Diego's Miramar College. And that's where Sean was teaching for at least 24 years.
What did you teach?
The Lifeguard Academy, but I'll do different aspects of that as well, like
But
public
what
relations,
did you teach?
legal.
Yeah, because people don't even understand. What are you talking about? There's a lifeguard academy. I know there's a fire academy. There's a police
Yeah, what
academy.
is it? Tell us how it.
Well, the subjects will be like water observation will be a subject. Then components of a rescue.
Do they
what
get
do you-
an AA, a degree
What do you
in it?
need? They do. They made it a major, and so you have to be an adjunct faculty, to work there. Are you just an instructor or are you a professor? I have a Juris Doctor degree in law, so I can teach anything that has to do with law as well right there. So I instruct them on forms and how to fill out stuff. And then I start showing them, don't forget, a lot of them are coming as kids, 17 years old. Their judgment's not there yet. Their hormones are still moving. You got to figure this out. I got to say things like, hey, you can't ask out a female lifeguard, over here, and you can't be on the beach talking to girls in bikinis and asking them out. The mayor's paying you for this time. Do you think the mayor wants to pay you for that 45 seconds? No, he doesn't. do your job. You know,
Right.
this is how what it is contrived of contains. And so we start off with talks like, here's how you have to do it, and don't be drinking that night till 2 a.m. then come into work. You still have blood alcohol in you. You can't be coming into the work like that the next day. So it's better to stay at home, because if we smell that, you're going to get fired. This is the way it works. Cell phones, don't bring them. Leave them in your car. In your locker at work, maybe, but you can't bring it out to the tower with you. No way. That's a problem these days. You look down for a second and you miss what somebody just dropped down, just dropped in the water.
Right.
That's a problem. So we have to start off with all those things, knowing where they are situated in their age. Then we touch on the specific things: communication, the history of the service. What should you expect with swells? Where do swells come from? Lifeguard, bigger waves.
Hydrology.
All of that. Anything from a basic scuba talk to the bay rescues with drop-offs to the ocean rescues and rip currents, right? So they have all these classes they got to go to. Then we take them out to the beach and give a practical talk. Here's what you're looking for on slideshow, or up there on video, and here's what you're looking for out in the water. So we put them in the tower, move their head, learn scanning methods. There's like 5-6 different scanning methods. Am I looking at everything and just my head on a swivel? Or Mike, like, remember in Denny's when you were a little kid, you had to connect the dots, and you would connect them and make like, look, Mom, I made a giraffe. Like that. Are you going to connect the dots and say, I see everybody? Or are you going to look at the inside and the intermediate and the outside? Or are you going to look at them in 1/3, 1/3, 1/3? What are the methods you're going to use? What's going to be best employed for the way that you guard, so you're not going to miss this rescue? Because we're in charge of a lot of kids. That's a lot of moms and dads. That would be, if someone dies, it changes everybody's life, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of responsibility given to a kid who just turned 18.
Right.
Right.
Don't have anyone drown when I'm a sergeant. That's what I tell people.
I would. Well,
Do not
I'd love the
screw
game.
up. Do not make a mistake. Do not hesitate.
Yeah.
You better be 10-8. You better be ready to go. And they were, man. We have good guards in San Diego. These guys are like pro athletes. They are.
It's a
They're so
mindset,
solid.
though.
It's a
like,
mindset,
Like
right.
SEALs have their own mindset, and we trained a lot of SEALs that come in afterwards, and that's too. But our mindset, when we were there making a lot of rescues, I'd look out there and I would be like, I dare you. Go ahead.
Right,
Why don't you?
exactly.
I dare you to try to drown. I got you. I'm going to find you. That kind of thing. And we would get down to a science where instead of like making the rescue, because you had to make it fun, you're making so many of them. Like I said, you run out there, you run between the sand. You got to be careful running between people in a crowded beach. They're here visiting from Minnesota, and the next thing you know, they bought their pizza for $30, and you just ran by them and put sand over all their pizza. Try eating a piece of pizza with sand; tastes great. So that's not going to work, right? So be careful, and then get out there quickly. Drop your rescue buoy, switch your hands, high step, porpoise. Turn your fins, put your fins on when you can't porpoise any further, deeper water, and swim to the victim. Get there, do this, make a sign, swim back in, right? We started getting into a science where I would just run, and jump like the high tides, like and catch an air pocket in the middle of the air, toss my buoy in the middle of the air, switch hands in the air, hit underneath the water like a torpedo, go fin, and come up with a butterfly kick and stroke out of the water like, ugh, I'm going to get you. And making that rescue like into a science, but it was fun and quick.
Yeah, you did a lot.
Good times.
Good
What
times.
do you think the most dangerous beach would be in San Diego as far as rip currents and being careful? I know it's a tough question because it could travel
Well,
around.
for
but-
the number of
Think
people,
OB.
Mission Beach and Central has the number of people that go there that I think are not
Good
good
swimmers,
swimmers.
right.
And the number of parking lots and the length of the beach, I would say Mission Beach would probably be. And Mission Beach has had the most deaths that have come out of Mission Beach is generally because of the glare. And it's happened when even a guard's been in the tower, if there was a guard in the tower, because of the glare. When you're out there and the sun hits and you can't see that area, you have to rely on the adjacent towers next to you to do a
Right.
cross check.
Right.
Right? And so who's the main tower? Well, they got to rely on this younger kid in a little tower, or put a truck, or Jeep down there, or put a surfboard or jet ski in the water.
Exactly.
So the glare's real bad. If you're talking just per capita for square footage for number of rescues, I would say Ocean Beach. But then again, if you're talking small, not too many people in the water at La Jolla, but those rocks turn. When you walk into La Jolla, you could be in trouble real quick.
Yeah, that right around the cove. If you
Cove, the Casa, Sharp, Razor Reef.
right, you get caught up
Swell.
in that. There's no escape because you have water, big surf, and a cliff.
It's so
Wind
funny.
and Seas
So
had
where do you
tons
take
of
them?
rescues the last 5 years.
Yeah, wind
Yeah,
and seas.
more people going.
A lot of good surfers. I give credit to the surfers because Surfers make rescues all the time that you never hear about. They rescue people all the time.
And
They're going-
that was interesting because surfers, when we became more law enforcement, we started, hey, we're kind of cops. Don't cross the line into the swimming area or we'll give you a ticket. We'll arrest you. We'll take your board. But we needed them to be our friends because during a rescue, I needed their help to come on over.
Right.
So I was never one of those, like, let's write the surfer a ticket unless a guy came in, I didn't know him from a different area, ticked off and threw his board at my truck. Then I'd be like, hey, that's not going to happen. But for the most part, if there was a surfer to talk to, it's just like, hey, you can't surf over here because it's a swimming area. You're going to hit somebody. I know you're a good surfer, but I can't have this kid get cut up by your fins.
Right.
So could you please stay over here? If not, can you go to this part of the beach where that type of wave is breaking better? Because I want them as friends out there. I was like, no, I need you. Next thing you know, someone's causing trouble. 4 surfer buddies of mine are pulling over going, let the lifeguard alone. Lifeguard, can we help you?
Right.
And they'll get just conversely, someone hurts their neck or has a dislocated shoulder in the water, happens all the time. They're coming over. What do you want us to do, Sean? Can we get him on your board? Yeah, let's get him on the board. I'll push the tail in. He'll help you.
Yeah, because
Awesome.
they know you.
Yeah, you can
awesome.
you recruit them. The best lifeguards are people that have good wave knowledge. There's like
You got it.
the way. So those surfers are out there every day. They know when the sets are coming in. They know how the wave works. They know
Well, that's why you
what
were
it feels
good
like.
because we spent every summer
Yeah, in the water.
in the at the cove or at the beach. Like we would wait for the waves to hit the rocks, and we would just let the waves throw us on the rocks.
Frank's judgment, he has emergency judgment that's second to none. What Frank can do is evaluate a situation when he's there, because not every situation is get to the victim, push him the buoy. He's okay, I'll bring him in.
Right.
It's not like that. All of a sudden, another person pops up, or they go, I had somebody else I was swimming with, and I don't see him anymore. He can think like that, and all of a sudden evaluate and go and analyze and just say, I need this, I need this, I need a helicopter, I need a person on standby, I need a paramedic right here, I want 4 more guards in the water. If this person is missing, the direction of the current's going this way, I need a buoy set out there, landmarks over here. He just goes to work. So he does that analyzation really well. And so when he's in charge of something, I know, I don't want to be another leader. Just tell me what you want me, I'll go there and do my piece. Let's
Right.
go. Right.
Good.
Yeah, it was a good team. One of the best rescues I made was at Mission Beach. We had a call of a person missing in the water from a 911 call from a payphone. They don't even have payphones anymore. So but they could tell which payphone it came from. So when I went to the beach, I found the payphone, but there was no one there. So then you have an access to the beach. I don't know whether to go left or right because it's really foggy that night. Or if it was a fake call, somebody called 911, then left. So I just went left. So I'm on the beach. Water, I got my rig, I'm driving, I don't see anything. Had another guy go the other way that met me after 15 minutes. And now my headlights hit something that looks like a person jumping up and down. And this girl, like in her underwear and bra, was waving to me. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm here, but I don't know what location I'm at because I cannot see.
Funny the details you remember from that far away, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Underwear and bra.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Go ahead.
Yeah, remember, not naked,
Saw that.
underwear and bra. Because I remembered if they're in underwear, because here's how I think: if they're in underwear and bra, they didn't come to swim, so they're not swimmers; they're tourists. If they're tourists and have underwear and bra, that means that probably someone is in there drowning because these people don't know how to swim because no one's just going to go in their underwear and bra, and they weren't prepared to swim, and they've been drinking. So that's why I notice these things. So I go, okay, rookie, someone's in there. They're probably true. Someone's drowning. Let me see what's going on. Not sure where I'm at, just call in and go, hey, I'm maybe at a certain court that I tried to anticipate how far I drove, but it's just me. So they're screaming so loud, and that's a big group of people, and I remember there was like, get out there. We saw him, he hit a wave, and he went under. And so just to get away from these people, I grabbed the rescue board, and I just ran into the ocean. And it was dark, and it was really foggy, and I could hear the surf break, and I was trying to time, like, when's the next wave going to hit me? I go as far as I can until I know I'm past the surf line and I can rest. And there's a way to turn a big rescue board. You sit on the back of it, and then you spin it around. And when I was spinning it around, I see this guy's face right here, just his mouth and his lips.
And that's awesome. That's like finding a pot of gold, because
Yeah.
otherwise you like, I got him.
Right. So then when I saw him, and I saw him like his nostrils kind of flared, and I grabbed the back of his neck. I'm like,
You don't let go.
I don't
Hair,
let
whatever
go.
you got, armpit, you hold.
nothing's going to let go of this.
Right.
I got the death grip on him, and I had him, but he wasn't talking, but he was breathing, and I could tell he didn't aspirate. So he was going down. Like I just
second
grabbed
before
him.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grab his armpits, and I just muscle him on my board, And he's so big, I go, okay, I got to go out further because I don't want to get caught in that impact zone because if that wave takes me over, I'm going to have a wrestling
That's a
match with this
lifeguard
guy.
choice. Should I bring him in, or is it worse to bring him in right now? Should I bring him outside, wait for a boat, or give him and I a chance for a breath, or should I have to breathe on him out on the board
Exactly.
and then bring him in?
Right. So I piled him out there and I got him turned and he woke up. He goes, hey, thank you. I don't even know. I thought I was dead. Like he was unconscious, kind of nice. Come up and go, you're not dead, but we're not in a good situation, man. I got you. You're with a lifeguard. We're on a rescue board, but we have to get you back inside. And there's
So he's coming to, right? We call that
coming to.
×4. If you can know your person, place, thing, who the president is, whatever, you answered 4 questions.
Right, exactly.
×3, you're not really here all the way. ×2, you're kind of funneling out. ×1, you're like going out. You're saying, maybe you were in my dream, maybe not. So he gets them at times. He's almost ×0 to 1 when he got him in that
exactly.
phase.
Yeah, the first thing's the ABCs, airway,
Level of
breathing.
consciousness, we call it. Right.
Yeah, circulation, and then level of consciousness. Right, those
Up to
questions.
4.
So he kind of, so I just pile him out there. We're just both, he's laying and I'm sitting. I'm like, hey, I got you. Just got to rest, but I got to figure out how to get back in because I don't want to lose you off the board. So you have any strength? So kind of a little bit. I go, all I need you to do is get on your belly, keep your chin up, hold on to these rails, and I'll do the rest. So I paddled him way to the south, and then I came in, and we got lucky. We caught a wave, like a 3-foot wave, but it was good enough to push us all the way in until my skeg hit. My skeg stopped me. I pick him up. We're walking. And I'm like, let's go meet your friends. So I'm walking back, and that's the best scene because you go there in the fog, and these people were praying to Jesus.
And you come right out, and there
I'm
it
like,
is.
hey,
Yeah.
like, and they were listening to me. I'm like, excuse me. And then they look up, and they saw their friend, and it was just like the miracle, man. They all cried.
You make
I was-
thousands of rescues, and most of the time, 2 people, 4 people might see it.
Right.
It's no big deal.
Right.
And you don't need anybody to see it. You don't do it for that reason.
Right,
But
there's
once in a
no-
while, you'll walk in with someone, and there'll be 100 people on the beach applauding, and just kind of like gives you that sense of smile, like a little more, like maybe a little more appreciated today.
Yeah,
you know?
so true.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, we're back. We
We're
just
back.
took a little restroom break. We're
It's
back
a
with
smart
Sean
water.
Green. So we're talking about rescues. Sean,
We just told your favorite rescue. But
Yeah, what is yours?
Well, certain ones stick in your mind,
Yeah.
right? From the first rescue you ever made.
Right.
And anyways, there's too many stories. But
Let's hear one of your good ones or favorite.
well, there's the
one.
ones that I remember that stick in my mind because I know that person would not be alive today.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the way I look at it is like I remember I'm working Tower 4 at Ocean Beach, and we cross-check each other's water. That means I don't just watch my Tower 4. I go to 4.5 in between 4 and 5. The next
So
open
these
tower.
are little lifeguard towers. There's 5 of them lined up. They look
Yeah,
like
like
bird
satellite
cages.
towers.
Yeah, and then you have the main tower.
So you got Tower 3, Tower 4, and 5, and we're both cross-checking each other's glare, watching
Right.
each other's water. And I look over at Tower 5's water, and I see a little girl start to go out in an area that's pulling really hard, the rip current, and she's little. I mean, she's like 3, maybe 4. And I'm looking over, and I look at the lifeguard at Tower 5, and right as she kind of walks up, he was just starting to switch the tower from a tower relief guard who was going to taking a break, taking the tower.
Right.
When they did that, they both talked to each other and switched, and they weren't watching because it was just
Right.
normal function.
Right.
And so I noticed that they weren't watching. I looked, and I go, that's not good. And my water was pretty clear, and I just go, Tower 5, either say, Tower 4 to Ocean Beach, I'm standing by on one individual in the intermediate, one little girl going into a bad area, right? Or you go Tower 4 to 5, go
I'm in.
whatever. When you don't have time,
Right.
4's in.
Right,
You at least
exactly.
say that because when I see you running, the main tower way up high goes,
Right.
where are they going?
Right.
I just go, 4's in. And I just watched her going in the hole.
Right.
I just start booking full speed out of my area, right into the front of that lifeguard's area, and I just launched for this dive. And I opened up my eyes, and I'm going, please, 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 please. And all of a
Were
sudden,
you underwater?
oh yeah, I'm underwater. It's like I'm running about knee deep, and then you jump. It was a hole, so I knew it was going to be 2 more feet deep. So I jumped in. I opened my eyes for a 3 or 4-year-old. It's already 2 foot over their head, 3 foot over their
Right.
head.
They're done.
And as I opened my eyes, this girl underneath was like had like the belly kind of like back, head was like this, and like turning in the water, and like not really struggling. And I'm like, I just opened my eyes, but I didn't see her. And all of a sudden, I opened that. Was like that, and I just went grab. I go, please, 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 God, breathe. I held her up, and I heard this cough, and I was just like, oh, thank you. But for some reason, that one stays in my mind.
Yeah.
I brought her back because I think normally I'd be watching my water. I
Right.
wouldn't have looked that far over. They wouldn't have catched it. Someone would have been under, not struggling, and the parents like, hey, where'd Daisy go?
Right.
You know, did she go back to the car? And all of a sudden, we're like, she isn't seen. Did she get abducted?
Right.
We're looking for kidnappers
exactly.
that day.
Right.
The body's not going to wash up for probably 6-7 days,
Right,
down
week.
by the jetty.
Right.
And like that happened.
Right.
So I remember some of those out of all the, a
That's
few
a good
thousands
one.
that were there.
Yeah. My weirdest one was a girl called in, said her boyfriend left her apartment naked towards the water, said he's going to commit suicide.
Awesome.
It was like a midnight call.
Jeez.
So then you got to go, okay, you got to evaluate it. Look, he's not at the beach yet. He's apparently going to go to the beach. He's naked, so should be easy to spot a naked guy. And then what do? Do you send helicopters? Do you send boats? Do you send lifeguards? So we did.
This is nighttime?
Nighttime. We deployed. Didn't find anything. And then the next day, a guy was walking his dog, and he goes, hey, there's a leg inside the jetty. A leg. A leg? A human leg? Yeah, a human leg. So I'm the first guy to respond with John, same guy you had. And he was always there too. The guy had drowned and floated in between the rocks of this huge jetty, and then seaweed floated right behind him. So he was
That's where the current was going.
Yeah,
right?
so
It
he
makes
was
sense.
just packed in there with a leg sticking out.
Jeez.
So at first the dog found it. It smelled the person's leg and barked, and then the person goes, "There's a leg." So we're thinking it may be a body part, and then I had to start digging all the seaweed up. Then I have to crawl inside of the cave to really get to him, and I finally made it. And it was this guy, and he had some tattoos that we confirmed it was the person that called in last night. I feel bad because where was he when we were looking for him? So, but you can easily hide. Maybe he's still in the house. But I remember putting something to get the guy out. He started like cracking.
Oh, they do that. Yeah.
And
Or
I'm
a
like,
piece will
okay,
fall off.
right.
If it's been down there too long.
Right. So do I want to rip this guy's body in half because he's just almost vacuum
It
packed
was like
in this hole?
like a pulley system.
Yeah, it's like a
Come along.
A come along. Yeah. So you tie it around the waist just to try to pop the guy out. And I kept hearing his bones crunching.
Did you get him out?
I got him out.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's gory ones you don't want to know.
Yeah. There's some that just are so gross.
I mean, I'm 19. I'm 18 and a half, and I'm on Mission Bay, right? I'm a kid. And you're thinking like, okay, I have kids that are 29, 27, 23.
Right.
I want my kids finding what I find.
Right. No way.
And I get this, I'm over on I get these kids come over to Mission Bay, a place called Leisure Lagoon, which is over by the Hilton over there. And these kids are on the island going, something's over there, like skin or something. It smells really bad. I'm like, oh, geez, bodies smell bad. This isn't going to be good.
Right.
But I'm only 18 and a half. So I, didn't need radio. I pick up the telephone back in those days and call the main tower and say, I'm going to be checking this out. So I go over there and just big thing of skin. And I don't know really what it's from. I don't think cows are out here swimming. And I'm like, it does smell terrible. I go, oh, now these kids come up and they go, we found these. And they're like bones. I'm like, okay, that's a big horse and somebody's doing some kind of sacrifice thing on the island, or it's a little island out there.
Right.
Or this is a dead body.
Right.
Okay, well, lo and behold, I get the homicide detectives come. They wear gloves way up to here, not here. That's how you know the difference. They come and check it out, and they interview me. And same morning, a guy finds a head in a bag by Deanza Cove, a mile down Mission Bay,
God.
and the head has no face on it, but it's just a head. Okay, that's not good.
Right.
And so I end up
remember
writing
that.
down what I observed. I get to go to court, and while I'm in court there, I'm outside waiting in the waiting room. I'm with these detectives, and the detectives are like, yeah, looking at Polaroids. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, there's a piece of a face looking out of a green bucket, like with a mouth open, with like a bunch of teeth missing, like in terror.
Right.
And I'm like, 18, I never want to see this nightmare again, right? That was the face they'd taken off. So this guy comes from Texas, got out of prison after like 9 years, goes to Pacific Beach and takes this guy home with him, right? Wants to have his way with this guy, apparently, knocks him out like with a hammer behind the head, has his way with him, and then cuts the body pieces up. There's like intestines on his shower and in the freezer and stuff. Okay, that's pretty sick, right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting there, and they show me this picture out of a bucket. I can still see that face looking out of a bucket, because he thought if you cut out the face, you couldn't track him. And he put the bucket full of lye, which is like acid that eats the face, but it just turned it orange, didn't really eat it. Oh yeah, great story.
Oh, I
God.
could. Can
Nice
I?
podcast. Sorry,
Can I?
guys.
Can I?
One up-
Can I
one
one
up
up you?
You're gonna one-up me on
Well,
that?
no, well, this is a gross.
Holy crap.
Okay, because that reminds me of shit I've seen that I forgot.
Yeah,
I've seen.
see, that's why.
So
okay.
there was this one lady who was really old, in her 80s or 90s. And
She
was-
live in a shoe.
No, she had a dog, a poodle, and she was
It's a
walking.
new story. She lives in a Nike.
She's on top of this cliff, right on La Jolla. It's called Dead Man's.
Oh.
Yeah, I
This
know where that is.
90-foot cliff.
That's for people that jump off it, not because
Right.
people are dead there.
Well, if you go a little bit this way, there's no water. There's only rocks down
Right.
there. And so the dog comes home that night, and she doesn't come home. So the people call, hey, and she had Alzheimer's, and grandma didn't come home. And so we went over there, and you kind of look, and you go,
It's a bad afternoon movie.
so you know, like
Grandma didn't come home.
yeah, grandma doesn't come home, and you go like, she may have fell. So I was on a boat, and I swam in, and I was walking over the rocks just to see. And I wasn't even prepared for this because I thought I'm just doing it to double check. And I see something, and what the hell's that? Oh my God, this lady did a header, right? And she went between these two rocks, like her neck was way back. She's like folded in half, and then she vomited blood, and the blood like froze, and there was ants going up the blood trail into her mouth. So that I'm focused on. I was like, what is that? Are those ants? And her dress is upside down, granny panties, ants going into her mouth. I was like, I found her. And that one was kind of tough. That just reminded me. I forgot about that.
But we laugh at this. We
No,
obviously
it's
wasn't funny at the
no.
time. No disrespect, but you have to learn to do that in this kind of
No,
job.
you have to.
Or else you would just take it home with you every second and try. You wouldn't let your kids go outside
Right,
to
exactly.
play.
But the funniest thing is what you said earlier in the podcast is that what'd you do after that?
Well, I sat with her, and I would say like a little prayer, like, hey, sorry. But I knew she died quick, so it wasn't like, obviously a broken neck. The lady was, bent in half. And now you have to remove the body.
No, but I don't
But
mean
no,
that.
well,
I mean,
did you
how
go about your day? Did you go
you-
back to Denny's? He's trying to say,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I just swam back to the boat.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah, and you went back to work.
That was it. You just go,
Like
hey,
I don't
Frank-
think he
let's
bought
go.
an ant farm, any kind of
Right.
ant
I found a
farm or
dead
anything, but
body,
yeah.
and
there's-
ants
you-
were crawling up.
Right. Same thing when you go find a dead diver, a dead person in the water. When they're there for too long, there's things eating them, and one of the things is lobsters.
That's a great point. Because that's the reason why people are listening to this. Why do the lifeguards come back the next day and try to find the body, or they stay on for a few hours till dark, or wake up early the next morning and try to recover the body?
It's for the family.
It's for the family. This person's
Yeah.
already dead. It's been 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30
Right.
minutes, an hour.
Right.
I want to find you because I
Right.
know what it looks like a week later when you wash up and you're all bloated and you have no more eyes, and because
Right.
you've rolled along the bottom, all the skin's pulled off you
Right.
and you're missing part of this limb or something.
Right.
And I don't want your mom or dad to look at you for the last time and see that.
Yeah,
So if
exactly
I go
right.
after you that day and still find you an hour later or the next morning and get you whole and you still look like yourself, so they can at least have somewhat of their closure, that's a big deal.
Right.
And so
Right.
there's more to the process than just like debrief, go on, go to your next job.
When you teach your class,
Exactly.
do you explain this to the students?
Cautiously, it's their first approach at lifeguarding. They're not becoming full-time yet, but I do tell them that they might have body searches or recoveries. If we have to go out there and someone's missing, a codex we call it, then we have to do searches. We have a line search where we all get across from each other, either hold hands or hold on to a rope and go and look for a body. Well, what if you bump into them? And that scares people. People are kind of like, don't let me find it, don't let me find it, right?
Right. There's
But
some people that
I
don't
try to
wanna
talk
find
their
it.
psyche into, listen,
Find it.
find it. You are like a dog, a
Retriever.
bird dog. If
Right.
I go out there and I go boom and I shoot some kind of bird, it falls down, and my dog goes and gets it and brings it back. That's your job as a lifeguard. That's what I really need you to do. Spot it. There it is. Go bring him back to shore. You're a bird dog. All the rest of it we can start adding on to after that. That's your primary function. And so if you bump into this, it's like I said, it's like the end of the pot of the gold, the end of the rainbow. You just did this. Tell yourself, this is gnarly, but I'm not letting this person go no matter what happens to me, and yell the word lifeguard, or got him, and hold on. We'll be there in seconds after you say that. And that is amazing that you luck and your skills just did that,
Right.
made that happen.
Right.
So I try to put that in their head so they can make it happen instead of like, I'm not really searching. It's like, nah, I need you to search.
Yeah, you have to go with the mental capacity of, I want to be the one to find this body, and I'm going to find it. Like I remember when I'm on searches, I'd hold my breath and just float and see where the current's taking me.
Great. Yep.
And I'd just
Love it.
go there. That's where the body is, and then you just keep going, and then you do it again. We have different.
Could be mask and snorkel. You might be the first one on scene with
Right.
no mask and snorkel.
Right.
You all of a sudden you bump into somebody in
Right.
murky water and you're like, what was that? And you're like, that's the body,
Right.
And they're heavy.
Yeah.
You try lifting that person up, they're
Oh my
heavy.
God! I
So-
just remembered another one. Woo!
Yeah. You go all day. huh?
What?
I could go all day. When I first got on the
I didn't even know we were going to talk about lifeguarding today.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about your band, a bunch of stuff. There's one kid when I first got hired. The guy slipped off a boogie board. Okay, so he's missing in Mission Bay. So it's like maybe he slipped off, maybe he's not, because you don't know if he made it to the shore. The parents are looking for him. And I was the first one there, and I had a bailout bottle. I wasn't on the scuba team or anything, but I'm like, if I'm going to go in the water, I'm going to take some air.
Right.
And I remember putting the mask on, and I have my bailout tank, and I went down, and Mission Bay is filled with this stuff called seagrass. It's like long grass. Underneath the grass, it's silt. So when you touch it, you're in a cloud.
cloud
So I
of
was down
mess.
there like trying to grab and hold, and I grabbed this one thing I put to my mask. It was like a tool. I remember it was a tool. And then I grabbed another thing. I wasn't sure what it was. I almost let it
And
go.
there's broken glass down there,
Yeah,
all sorts of
broken glass.
rusty stuff. Yeah.
And then I grabbed this other thing, thought it was a stick, but I wanted to make sure when I put it up to my mask, it was his foot. About a foot just sucked onto my thing. I'm like, what the hell? Holy shit, I got the kid. So I brought him up as a little like 8-year-old, but he was done. But I didn't expect to find him. It was a weird thing that I went there and just see what I could do.
And the kids are lighter. We grab them.
Oh, really
Get 'em in.
light.
It's
That's
not
why. Yeah,
bad.
that's why I almost let him go because it's like neutral buoyancy in the
Right.
water, and I just always remember that little foot being on my mask and just seeing all of his toes, and it was still white, and I was like, maybe there's a chance. I mean, I brought him up. I broke the surface. Guards were there.
It's awesome.
I handed him off, and then
I never heard that story.
Yeah, I got back in my boat. That was my first ever.
We don't even tell these stories usually.
don't even
I don't
tell
want
the
my kids
stories.
to hear them. I don't want my wife to hear these stories.
Right. No one wants to hear
But
my.
I'm with Frankie,
Hopefully the
it's like
podcast.
you forget your mic. We're just talking.
Right,
You know, and
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
just
you're
like,
debriefing.
We've had fun doing
There's
it.
a
Yeah.
debrief.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. There's just so many weird things that happen, and people don't know what you do, and they like, you're a lifeguard. So
And they used to go, have you ever made a rescue? And you're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Wait, about 3,600 they say.
Well, so now,
Right.
so now,
so many lives we
anybody listening to this,
It's a great
when
career.
you see a lifeguard, you're going to look at them differently.
Maybe
You
I hope so.
cannot look at a lifeguard the same way
Right.
after watching this or listening to this
And
podcast.
hopefully we're changing that public perception, even taking it to the professional level further, where you'll actually go up and say, just don't even ask questions except where to swim, but say thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
thank-
say,
go
'cause
thank-
they don't get it. Believe me,
Right.
every 500 rescues, you might get 3 thank yous,
Right.
maybe.
Maybe.
And that's a big maybe. But when you go to vote, and you go to vote for something to happen on the coast, or for lifeguards, support them, because there's not that many of them, and there's a whole bunch of people on the
We need
beach.
If we didn't have lifeguards, it would be the whole reason the lifeguard service started was a mass drowning in 19 whatever.
Oh, 9 or something.
Yeah, 1909. There was a day where the
At Ocean Beach.
at Ocean Beach, and what happened was they were going to give a free day to the military personnel. So they let them go down on buses. And in Ocean Beach, it had a place called Wonderland. It was like Belmont Park. It had everything: roller coasters, slides, throw the stuff at the bottle. So it was servicemen went there, and on the beach, Dog Beach obviously is still there. There was a person that was drowning. So one of the servicemen went in to go help. Then he started to drown. Another one went in to help. He started to drown. By the end of it, 11, it was either 11 or 13.
It's 13.
I think maybe 13
Yeah.
servicemen died.
That's why you grab a flotation device and paddle it out, or you get it to somebody if you can.
And then after that, the city goes, we need to put a guard here. So they put the police
Lifeguard
involved.
police right there. Right. Started out as police there.
Started as police, and then the first lifeguard was
Yeah.
a guy that was like, I forgot his name. He was a volunteer. He just goes, I'm going to rescue people. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I'm an Ocean Beach. I'm an ocean guy. And he'd do all these rescues, and he started getting volunteers. And so the community made their own rescue team. But after that, the city went behind and started the lifeguard service because 13 servicemen die in one day that they're
Right.
supposed to be going to a park and having a good time when they're trying to rescue, because these Marines or whoever they are think they have the skills because they're strong. But ocean skills, water skills are totally different than any other skill. You cannot go in the water if you don't know what you're doing.
And
You
the makeup
will
of the
drown.
guard has changed so much. It used to just be that bigger, muscular guy. You're thinking the perception, you
Right.
know. You know how many girls we have working for us, all races. It's awesome.
Do we say
good?
I mean, we have girl water polo.
Isn't that don't you say
teams that are so
female,
good.
not girls?
Yeah, female, women. You know.
I was kidding.
Well, I'm in my 50s now. I say girls because everybody's so darn young that
Right,
we teach.
exactly.
But
So, yeah.
yeah,
No, I
females.
got you.
So, Sean, when you were a lifeguard, I know that part of the way that you would debrief is you're a singer.
Yeah.
And
I sang in a band back then. I did.
yeah,
you
you
did.
did. You're doing
I remember
this-
when I first saw him, I'm like,
It's a nice
holy
segue.
Yeah, because that is a really
stress
cool-
release.
stress release. But tell us a little bit about your band and about the music scene.
Well, just
here
to let
in
you know, Sean has a background because every year we have like annual parties. We have this, and Sean would always put together what would go on the T-shirt? Like you had this artistic thing,
Right.
like, and you'd do it, and he'd say no. But then
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
those are my
Lifeguard-
favorite T-shirts.
Right.
And I started a T-shirt company with our drummer who worked for Pixar. That's called Shirt Mafia. We liked punk rock back in the late '70s, early '80s. So we came up with these graphics we put together and changed them, how we wanted them, and put them on shirts. And we sell those for some side money, and just because we wanted to see those on everybody.
Right.
So,
Is that
but,
your company name still?
Shirt Mafia? Yeah, shirtmafia.co. But the band started way back, in high school.
Right, I
and it
remember.
was just a fun
Punk
thing to
rock.
do. Yeah, but mostly punk, and we did
Right.
some stuff back then called mod and ska, and it was
Right.
called the Imports, and we had a blast.
You
doing it.
started it. I mean,
Yeah, and all those people in that band became professional musicians,
Yeah.
except for me. We got really good, and I was like, I gotta go to college, guys. I gotta split. UC Davis is picking me up. They want me to come play soccer. I'm gonna go.
right.
And so
Smart move.
I did that. The band wasn't very happy with me. They became a band called the Slow Ponies in Mission Beach, which got pretty popular too. And then, I don't know, 4 years ago or so, a couple of those guys called me and they were like, "Hey, let's go play some music." I go, "Sure, I'll play some fun music with you." In a room, we're just playing around. We should do this again. I go, "Nah, dude, we're old." Rest his soul last week, but I look like Bob Barker now. I'm old. I'm like jumping off a stage, yelling F-bombs all day long.
Right.
The next thing you know,
Not the same reaction.
no, but then I kind of like, well, I can jump off the stage and I can say F-bombs all day long, so maybe I should do this.
Right.
And so
You
we
haven't lost it.
Yeah, we put the band together to see what would happen, and already the old guys trying to live their last hurrah that's going to play a little party
Right.
with covers. No, these guys are very talented musicians.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
played-
No, I heard your stuff.
yeah, these guys have played tours with Soul Asylum and Bad Religion and bands, Henry Rollins band. They're great musicians.
That's awesome.
Most of them are tatted head to toe, except for me.
Yeah, well, all those guys are attached because they're artists.
They're very good at what their craft.
Yeah, they're artists.
So we
They just-
started a band called NSL, and we started to put a few things out there, but didn't really publicize it. We had a mission to let's go do a big Europe tour and do this. We can do this. And then COVID hits.
Yes,
And you're
I remember that.
God darn
Yes,
it, we
I
were getting
remember that.
all ready.
Right.
And so we started a T-shirt company during COVID. What else can we do? We'll write a few songs. So now it's called the Voodoo Saints.
Nice.
And we
You got to give me
just-
one of those T-shirts.
We just changed. We have a few different ones. We just changed the
It's a
name,
great name.
3 weeks ago.
That's a great.
Yeah,
name.
it's
I
'cause we
love the
did-
logo, man. I
We
mean,
did
holy
Google
crap.
Analytics, and we found out that 16-year-olds to 25-year-olds like us, and 52 to 58-year-olds like us.
Right.
And the middle phase is okay,
Right.
but that's our main following.
Right.
So you got to change your name, guys. You got to get something catchy.
Right.
So we dropped our distributor, got a new one,
Right.
dropped all the songs we had on Spotify off, and now we're starting again, releasing our first song on Monday
Nice.
called Sunday Morning. And it's a real good song. I got
Hey,
a call.
Do you have it on your phone? We can play a little bit of it.
I do have it on my phone, but they can go look it up on Spotify or something.
Well, you
Should
should
it be
hear
on
this.
my- no, it's real stuff.
Okay,
I
it's
heard
coming
it-
out
I
on
heard-
Spotify September 3rd, 4th.
It should be out by Monday, and we have two different versions.
What
Both
days-
of them are-
what
Today's
date's
the
Monday?
1st, the 3rd.
Give a shout out to your Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it'll be on Spotify as the Voodoo Saints, and it takes 2 days after you send it to go to Spotify, so it might take till Wednesday with a holiday or something. Anyway, this song I got a call. A really good director did a Lady Gaga commercial and a few other things real good. Really, Liz Encinitas knows his stuff. I can't say his name right now because this got picked up
NDAs.
for a TV show for all that's this song Sunday Morning for all 12 of this season's intro and
way.
outro. And so I
Nice.
was super stoked. I'm like, all right, it's a great song. You're right. It should get picked up. And is this the way we want to go? And I'm like, hey, I'll take whatever publicity we can.
Right.
And he's working on hopefully a Jeep
Tell them you want
commercial.
money. Forget
No.
publicity.
Well,
Well,
people,
we'll get-
people get money out when they start listening
And
to
we're going
it.
to get a little piece of money out of it. But there's going to be hopefully his next commercial is hopefully with a big car company. He wants to hopefully use that too. So that's going to be some real money. But the good point is the
I
song
heard the
will
song
get out
is
there.
so good.
Yeah,
I
so the
love
song
it.
gets out there.
Sean has an incredible voice.
I don't
like-
sing this bitch. This is a tenor talk.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a hey, 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 like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You don't know it's you because I'm like, God damn, this guy almost like it's almost
Kind
I
of
don't know.
a Metallica, ST, Stone Temple Pilots,
Yeah.
maybe Rage Against the
Right,
Machine
right.
kind of feel. Maybe a little old Black
a
Sabbath.
little that
in there.
guy, the Five Finger Death Punch
Yeah, a
singer.
little bit of that.
Yeah.
So
but
the song
guitar just comes out. It's really powerful.
it's going to be on this episode. So they send me 30 seconds of the intro, and the director just did an amazing job. Has airplanes flying in, the guy talking, landing with these amazing,
Graphics.
multi-$1,000
Toys.
Jeep toys.
Can we
that
play it
drive
on
over
this
ravines.
podcast? Or
You
is
can
it
play
going to
the
be
song
live?
whenever you want. I just can't mention the show until after the first airing in late September.
Maybe like we'll edit it in. You know, you guys just throwing
Wait,
some
the
music in the
beginning.
background. In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah,
Dun, dun,
I'll,
dun.
I'll send you guys a good
It's
copy
actually
of Sunday
it
morning.
actually is a great song for an intro. I listened to it in his Bronco out there. It was a Blazer or a Bronco?
Bronco.
I love the Broncos.
92 Bronco.
Everyone loves the 92
Yeah.
Bronco. You can't, especially in Southern
You
California.
can't get them anymore.
Black with a cream top, like
Yeah,
top.
that's a Baja rig right there. That's when
Like
you
it.
take to Mexico and have a good time. That just brought back good memories, just seeing you today and getting in your car and blasting some good
That
music.
was fun, right?
That was so fun.
But thanks for mentioning the band. That's nice.
The
and
Voodoo
we're going to be doing
Saints.
hopefully
The
a nice.
Voodoo Saints.
We'll play in town about 8 to 10 times. Hopefully the Belly Up Music Box before we take off to Europe, and then we're going to hopefully arrive in Amsterdam in June and play a series of anywhere from 8 to about 11 or 12 big shows. You know, festivals where they have a lot of people, and we're not going to get a great spot like right before Metallica or something. But if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're just looking for like a Friday spot in the late afternoon, or
Right.
you know, just to
Right.
get
Right.
out there. And then
You're
we'll
just
be-
a little bit. You just got a little bit hurt by the COVID because I now remember that you're launching huge, and I remember
Yeah.
your girlfriend. I'm listening to all your tracks. I'm like, holy shit, Sean, you're doing this is like
But we
real
made each
music.
of those tracks faster now because we've realized
A faster beat?
we're going for the festival.
Okay.
And people want to have faster music at most of those festivals. They want to be yelling with a beer.
Right.
So we're playing to that audience, and we're finding more of our feel is better fast.
Okay,
it's
so-
called beats per minutes, and those BPMs went
Yeah.
up from about 124 to about
160?
152. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're a lot faster.
Good. Good for working out too, huh? Hitting that bag, boom, boom, boom,
It's,
boom, boom.
it's fun. I need to do a little more stretching. I was watching this TV show the other saw him the other day, and that guy Faith Hill, Tug McGraw is married to her, and he's my age. He's in good shape, got some guns, looks great. And no offense, Tug, if you listen to this, or Tug's the dad. It's Tim McGraw, and so Tim McGraw, he's my age, and so anyway, he's moving on stage, and I'm going to my wife. I go, he looks old. His movements. I go, he's in shape, but I like the song, but he looks so old. And she goes, have you seen you when I drop like a silverware and you pick it up? She's all, he's moving so much better than you. And I'm like, okay, I got to start stretching, doing yoga, and getting ready to do this
We're
again.
all getting old, but it's okay.
Holy moly.
That's okay.
The boomers are still in charge of this world for now.
It's okay.
We're not letting go. But anyway, thanks for coming. We got the Voodoo Saints. What else do we got?
Shirtmafia.co.
Shirtmafia.co.
You mentioned Wonderland being the first part of OB.
Yes.
Well, some of my buddies got together and they opened up Wonderland, a great bar and restaurant in Ocean
OB?
Beach. And then they subsequently bought some other restaurants, but the Monarch, which is those same people mostly in Del Mar.
Okay.
I would visit those. They do a sunset toast and a shot, and they do a poem. It's awesome. If you're in
that's
the beach
great.
community, stop by Monarch or
Monarch or
as in
Wonderland?
Del Mar or Wonderland and Ocean Beach. You'll have a good time.
All right, you heard that.
right.
This support. All right, thanks so much, brother. It's good to see you.
Great to see both of you.
All right, great
All right.
show.
Thank you, my
Cheers.
brother. Good to see you.
That was good.